Well, where do we go from here? That is the question for you Clemson fans out there in the upstate of South Carolina today on this Monday, the 15th day of September. So good to be with you. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. Where do you go from here? That's the question that we ask you Clemson fans to start the show today after what happened over the weekend. Georgia Tech, a 55-yard field goal as time expires to stun the 12th-ranked Clemson Tigers, 24-21. Want to hear from you, Clemson fans, right now, 844-326-3663. You can also drop a comment on the stream, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I know you Clemson fans are probably upset, so you might be in hiding a little bit, but no. Let's come out of your shell today. Let's have some hard, honest conversations. We want to hear from you. Diesel, do you think the Clemson Tiger faithful out there that are listening will answer the call in this very first segment?
I think they're going to stick their heads in the sand and hope that things get better because Dabo told them that they're just one or two plays away from being 3-0, and there's some solace in believing that. I mean, you're still 1-2, and you fell outside the top 25. But, man, you're so close. Doesn't it feel like you're still a really good football team? This team sucks. This team sucks. The defense, pretty good. Pretty good. Through 3 games, Tom Allen's defense, pretty good. I know they gave up a lot of points to Haynes King, but Haynes is a 12th-year senior. He ought to be able to pick a defense apart by this point.
Yeah, I thought it was year 13. I didn't realize it was only 12.
It's only 12.
Only 12. So a lot of comments already popping in on the stream. Again, you can watch the show live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. We'll get to those comments. Good stuff coming in from T-Swizzle, a funny one already from Madcraft, JB in the stream as well. 54 of you Tolos, which stands for Turn On, Leave On, already watching the show. And the Hub City Spartanburgers text line is cranking up as well. Let's get it going. Let's start off strong on this Overreaction Monday, 844-326-3663. If you need, Clemson fans, if you need a vent, if you need to let it all out, Tyler from Spartanburg, you can do so. Again, 844-326-3663. Diesel, a loaded show coming up today. Unprecedented weekend. We'll get to that in the very next segment. Not a great weekend for the state. We have Daily Wires coming up. How we did or did not do in the Upset Pick Challenge at 4 o'clock. Grayson Mann, TigerNet.com, 422. Coaches already fired. We'll get to that at 445. Overreaction Monday. Ian Unsworth of the Spartanburgers joining us at 522. An audio blitz, a loaded Overreaction Monday. Good to see Stephen Webb in the chat as well already. But that's the question. You said they suck. Where do they, Diesel, I'll give you the floor first. Where do Clemson fans, where does the program now go from here?
I mean, it's hard to not say at some point, should you think about maybe trying Christopher Vazina at quarterback? I know that's cliche. And I know that the most popular guy on campus when you're not winning is the backup quarterback. Everybody's heard that for years. But Cade's awful. Cade is terrible, especially when he's getting rushed. I mean, God, we're gonna talk about it a little bit later on with Grayson Mann, and I'm gonna ask him a very pointed question. Like, did Georgia Tech not just give everyone in the ACC a blueprint for how to beat Clemson? Rush, attack. Because Cade Klubnik went 3 of 9 with an interception when he was rushed in that game on Saturday.
So many comments already coming in, Diesel. We'll get to those. I'm with you. I agree. I think it's time to at least start maybe having that conversation. Here's where I'll go
split
first.
The reps in practice. See what happens.
Maybe. Let's start today. Let's see what we got, right? So here's where I go first. I have obviously a ton of thoughts on what happened over the weekend, but here's where I go first, right off the bat today. I said for years, Diesel, that the likes of Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, the best attributes about those two quarterbacks, guess what? Weren't seen on the stat sheet. What do I mean by that? I said for years and years, Diesel, that the Deshaun Watsons, the Trevor Lawrences, the elite quarterbacks of the world were really good really, really good at hiding deficiencies within a program, right? They're so elite, they can hide deficiencies, and they did. Deshaun did it. Trevor Lawrence did it. Was Clemson perfect during those runs of quarterbacks? No, but when you have an elite quarterback, those elite quarterbacks can hide a lot of deficiencies. Here's where I go first. Cade Klubnik can't hide a single deficiency, and that's your number one problem. He's not an elite quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. And Diesel, it seems as if we're now having a conversation that in order for Cade to be great, everything else around Cade has to be great. And this Clemson offense, they're not great.
Yeah, he needs to be bailed out by an elite offensive line. He has one on paper, but they're not playing like it. He needs to be bailed out by elite wide receivers. He has some, but half of them are hurt. He needs to be bailed out by an elite running back. Clemson doesn't even have one of those.
No.
I mean, there's glaring problems on this offensive side of the ball for these Tigers. I mean, the defense needs to be playing so lights out that nobody scores more than a touchdown on them. That's the only way they're going to win games.
I just spilled my water. I took a sip and spilled water as soon as you said that. They can't allow more than a touchdown. Is that where we are?
I mean, isn't that kind of outside of the fourth quarter? Isn't that kind of how teams beat the Carolina Panthers? Hold them to a touchdown and you can win the game. It's really not that hard.
That was funny. That was God. Can't score more than a touchdown for Clemson to win in 2025. That's where we are, I guess, as a program. So Clemson fans want to hear from you. That's where I go first. Diesel, I'm with you. I think you're right in the aspect of what's around them. What's around them's not the best right now. And T. Swizzle will get to your comments on the stream as well. We know you're a big Clemson fan. Want to see what or how you react on the stream. The comments are pouring in on the stream right now, and I mean pouring in. 69 Tolos now watching on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So here's where we are, Diesel, thus far in 2025. Cade Klubnik is 52 of 88, a completion percentage of 59.1, which, by the way, is his lowest in his career at Clemson, okay? 633 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and he's been sacked 3 times. He has a quarterback rating of 123.9. Those numbers aren't great. Now, I'm going to throw one more at you, and I want to see how you react to this, as well as the Clemson fans out there. Diesel, Clemson starting quarterbacks versus Power 5 opposition, okay? You ready for this? This one, I think you'll like this one. Clemson starting quarterbacks against P5 opposition. I'm going to throw this graphic up on the stream as well in just a second. Trevor Lawrence was 31-2. Deshaun Watson was 28-3. Kelly Bryant was 12-2. A winning percentage of 857. So Lawrence had 939. Deshaun Watson had a winning percentage of 903. Kelly Bryant, 857. Taj Boyd, 788. DJ Uiagalelei, 750. Cade Klubnik, 15-11 at .577.
Oof.
That is
DJU was a better quarterback than Cade Klubnik, winning percentage-wise.
And for those watching on the stream, I know I just ran through those numbers really quick. They're now on the screen. You can now see them on the stream. That way the numbers can hit home for you a little more. You know, we were a couple of weeks ago, Diesel, after they lost to LSU, we were really bullish on Cade versus the SEC. But I think what we're seeing now is those are starting to become more the norm, right? Not just against SEC teams, but more of the norm against P5 opposition. That's not good.
Yeah, and I mean, you probably have spent a little more time around this program than I have, studying the depth chart, because I know you go to more spring games than I do. And I certainly want to ask Grayson Mann this question coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. Can Christopher Vezina be a dog? Can he be something more akin to Deshaun, to Kelly, to Taj? Because that's an upgrade from Cade. You know, we were having the same conversation 2 years ago. about Will Shipley as a running back.
Sure.
And we were saying, man, Clemson doesn't have a running back. Yeah, Phil Maffa is good. He's not getting the majority of the snaps, but they keep cramming the ball down defensive throats with Will Shipley. And Clemson fans called in and said, man, Diesel, you're crazy. You're crazy. You're not showing Will Shipley any respect. I said, do you really think that 10 years from now, as you're tailgating outside of a Clemson game, y'all are going to be recalling the greatness of Will Shipley? No. His name's not going to be mentioned. I know Will's looking pretty good in the NFL. Honestly, a lot better than he did at Clemson. But he was one of those guys. Do you really think 10 years from now you're going to be talking about him? No. Because Clemson has had some really great running backs in the past. And Cade Klubnik is very quickly becoming the same guy. He's becoming Woody Dantzler, a guy that was decent, but in the future you're not going to talk about him anymore.
You know what's interesting? Watching that game on Saturday, it just like I've already had several Clemson fans, and again, we're going to get to the comments because there's a lot of good comments and text messages in just a second. But I had so many Clemson fans over the past couple of days reach out to me, Diesel, and so many friends of mine that have said, like the 24-21 loss to Georgia Tech, while it was devastating, they weren't surprised. You don't see what you saw against LSU. You don't see what you saw against Troy, and then all of a sudden become surprised that you can't beat Georgia Tech. Do you give Georgia Tech credit? Sure you do. But at the same time, you've seen for 2 weeks now that this team isn't anywhere where it needs to be. The offensive line was once again bad. I didn't think the running back was horrible Saturday. Adam Randall. Didn't think he was great. Didn't think he was horrible. I don't know if that's Clemson's biggest issue right now. The defense at times was, again, out of position, just like they were against Troy when Dabo Swinney talked about it last Tuesday, Diesel. But ultimately, it comes down to two people. It comes down to Garrett Riley and Cade Klubnik. I mean, those two together, like, we're just not seeing progression. We're not seeing them get better. We're not seeing these guys all of a sudden. Third season, right? Klubnik was 15 of 26, 207 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and a QBR of 56.2. Again, Adam Randall was pretty good. 1 touchdown, 80 yards off of 15 carries. But Bryant Wesco was the only thing that Clemson actually could look at offensively and be happy about. That was it. I mean, I know you're down a couple of guys. Khalil Barnes on defense, obviously that matters. But Bryant Wesco Jr., you still got him. You still got TJ Moore. You still got Tyler Brown. This offense just, Diesel, from my perspective, they don't look like they're getting better week by week. And I think that's a huge problem.
Yeah, to me, it all goes back to Dabo being fiercely loyal to somebody that he's put his arm around, literally and figuratively, and said, you're my guy. It's kind of not dissimilar from Jerry Jones, where he put his arm around Tony Romo, even as his career started to slide. And he put his arm around Dak in years where Dak Prescott wasn't phenomenal. Right? Dabo has put his arm around Cade Klubnik and said, Cade is my guy. For better or worse, Cade is my guy. And I am not going to replace him for anyone. And I would assume that Christopher Vezina is clearly not as good as Cade Klubnik is. And God, how scary is that when Christopher Vezina is your heir apparent next year? Maybe Trent Pierman jumps him as he's going to be a redshirt senior next year. But that's terrifying, right? If it's not that Dabo is so arrogant that he said, this is my guy and I'm sticking to him no matter what. If it's that you really don't have a better option behind him.
And, you know, my biggest thing, Diesel, is I've seen a lot this morning already about Clemson not having Antonio Williams on Saturday. And does that matter? Of course it does. Antonio Williams is really, really good. But I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter about like Cade Klubnik with Antonio Williams versus Cade Klubnik without Antonio Williams. And the numbers are staggering. Like you're talking 47 touchdowns to 12 touchdowns with him and then without him. Now, the reality is Antonio Williams a difference maker? Sure. Is he a big piece of this Clemson offense? Sure. But what does it tell you about your quarterback if he's so reliant on one guy in Antonio Williams that when he doesn't have Antonio Williams to throw to, you're talking about a 12 touchdown, 8 interception kind of quarterback with Cade Klubnik? It scares me if I'm a Clemson fan. But again, it doesn't scare me any more than I already know, because reality at this point is reality. And I said this on Twitter this weekend, Diesel. So much hype before the season started, so much preseason hype. We talked to every single person that could be talked to at ACC kickoff. Me and you did. Will Vandervoort, Grayson Mann, who we'll have on the show in about an hour from now. There was so much hype. The receiving core, the defense, the offensive line, Cade, third year with Garrett. They have fallen on their face. And it goes back to what I said on Twitter this weekend, and it goes back to what I said on this show several times. You and I have talked about it many times, Diesel. Clemson fans in the upstate, I don't care if there's one listening today or 1,000, you have a choice who to listen to. I get that you want to be so engaged and so hyped up and filled with sunshine every single day and told how great this team is. But at the end of the day, you as a Clemson fan, and I think a lot of Clemson fans are waking up. I've seen on Twitter this weekend, you've got to quit buying into hype from other Clemson fans who may be also media members. I don't mean that disrespectfully. I don't. But when you have a large contingent of Clemson media who are also Clemson fans, you have to understand and realize that they're the same person as you. They're just given a platform and a microphone. You've got to understand who you're listening to every preseason. And now on the 15th day of September, realize that this team, to your point, just isn't real good.
You know, there are certainly those media members that will take it too far and that will nitpick over things, even when you're winning football games. We'll play the audio a little bit later on in the show of that reporter that went after Brian Kelly for what's going on third downs. And Brian came back at him really hard. But it feels to me, and that's going too far. Like, you won the game. Appreciate the fact that you won the game. Or if you want to ask that kind of question, do it on the Tuesday, Wednesday press conference. Sure. Don't do it immediately after an emotional, hard-fought game. But it feels like Clemson's reporters, they'll just ask Dabo a question and just sit there with their heads with their chins in their hands, like, oh my God, Dabo, stars and hearts in their eyes. Tell me how great this unit is going to be. Tell me everything about how we're going to win 35 games this year, and Cade's going to get the Heisman, and everybody's going to stack up all these awards. Just tell me how great we're going to be. No, you got to be willing to ask the difficult and the hard questions as to why things aren't going right.
Yeah.
And then when Dabo says, oh, well, we're just 2 or 3 plays away from being 3-0, you say, Dabo, no offense, but that answer is bunk. It doesn't mean anything. You're 1-2. You're getting beat by teams that you used to beat by 40. You shouldn't be losing to those teams by 3 and in late second field goals. You used to beat that team by 30.
Before we run to a break, Diesel, you get the text line. I'll get the stream. A lot of comments. We'll start on the stream where T-Swizzle, before the show even started today, I mean, he was already on it. T-Swizzle says, Dabo's a joke. No one cares about how many 10-win seasons we have and how many people graduated. This is now, and he won't even acknowledge the problem. SMH ain't all sunshine and rainbows. Dabo, again, this is from a Clemson fan. He says this one falls on coaching. Absolutely no player development. Just because they played for Dabo doesn't mean they know how to develop 4 and 5 stars. That's from T-Swizzle on the YouTube stream. Madcraft says, where do you go now? Wherever Cade isn't. Pretty funny. JB says, looks like Carolina-Clemson game in November will be for a bowl bid. Stephen Webb says, I'm here as a Clemson fan, and I'm still waiting on Cade to look off of a receiver after year 2. Dewey says it's the beginning of the end for Dabo. JB says Clemson might as well try the backup quarterback. Let's see. Going down the stream, Zach on YouTube says, is it time to bench Cade and give CV a shot? T-Swizzle says, might as well put Vazina in, get him some reps, and do something before next year. Buckeye Mike says it just seems like the Ohio State Buckeyes have broken Clemson after the COVID year. Let me make sure I hadn't missed any before we get to the text line. T-Swizzle says Klubnik never even looks towards Moore's way, talking about TJ Moore. Could be 1-3. How can a coach say that? Dewey says the reporters are scared of Dabo. So a lot of interaction that I didn't even get to on the stream as well. What about the text line, Diesel? I know they're pouring in there.
Yeah, Texter says, can guarantee you that won't be the way Clemson fans react. A lot of us are fed up with Dabo's BS every week. Another texter says, keep sucking, Clemson. Let's go, Knowles. Texter says, hey, fun fact for you. The last time both Clemson and South Carolina football teams lost in the same weekend was November 14th, 2020. On that date, Clemson lost to Notre Dame and South Carolina lost to Texas A&M. Texter says Clemson's biggest issue is the head ball coach not acting like he did when he was first named full-time coach, hungry and driven. Dabo has hired too many yes men, and that has caused the Tigers to fade away from relevancy. That comes from RJ. I mean, it felt like Dabo started to address that, but it was a half measure, right? He didn't go as far as he could have, and but it's also not very often that you completely clean house and start fresh with an entirely new staff when you're an entrenched head coach. Texter says the story goes that once upon a time, Chad Morris told Dabo to get out of the meetings involving the offense and let him, Chad Morris, handle things. Something like that needs to happen again. That comes from RJ. Texter asks, where is Tyler from Spartanburg? Texter says, Williams Bryce has stunk that bad from a Doty since the toilets were broken during the Kentucky games. Oh, he conflated Doty and duty. Let's see. Another texter says Clemson has to use the transfer portal now. It's an astute question or astute statement there. I mean, at the very least, why are you not recruiting some running back that's exiting an SEC program? Come on. You can't tell me that you can't land a running back recruit out of the SEC.
Diesel, I'll say this before we run off the break. There's been a ton of frustration that I've seen this weekend on Clemson Twitter. And I mean a ton of Clemson fans who are not normally the ones to be as outspoken as they are. People are going as far as to say they want a quarterback change, they want a coaching change. Obviously, Garrett Riley is under a lot of pressure. And for those three comments, I believe that Garrett Riley should be under a lot of pressure, Diesel.
And the problem is, Cole, if Clemson gets a win this weekend, Tiger fans will put their heads right back in that sand and say, everything's okay. See, the ship is righted. Everything's good. No, you need to maintain that level of criticism until you get back to the way you want to win.
I'm with you. It's bad, man. It's really, really bad. And I'm not going to go as far to say, obviously, that Dabo's job status is in question. I'm not going to go there on this Monday, but I will say if I'm a Clemson fan, I do want change at the offensive coordinator position, or I at least want an explanation as to why you're seeing the same offense every week, Diesel.
Well, Dabo at least needs to feel like his job could be at risk. He's so entrenched. He is so comfortable. His seat is so ice cold. Yeah. He knows they're not going to make a move on him, so he doesn't have to change.
A friend of mine told me that 2 hours ago. A friend of mine that's a Clemson fan. He said, Cole, Dabo's done so much and I get it. He's done so much. He's won 2 a million ACC championships. But what people don't understand, Diesel, is this is a different sport than Dabo won those championships.
Do you want to win more championships, or do you want to be thinking back about what it was like when you used to win championships?
Yeah,
that's the question. Man. When we come back, Clemson, you're not alone. You're not the only one going to catch bullets on this show. There are other programs in the state of South Carolina and the Carolinas as a whole that were awful this weekend. We're going to go after them too. There wasn't just some suck here in the Carolinas this past weekend, Cole, because you can always expect when there are 10 FBS playing schools in 2 conjoined states that somebody is going to stink it up on any given Saturday. But what we saw this weekend, Cole, was unprecedented levels of suck in the Carolinas. I mean, it is down bad right now. You might think I'm specifically going to target the University of South Carolina in this segment.
Y'all need to be fired.
No, we are going to talk about South Carolina in this segment, Cole. But Clemson sucked.
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Coastal Carolina did what?
Sucked.
Hey, you're starting to get it. You know who else sucked? App State sucked. Duke sucked. Charlotte got the win, but they still sucked. It's bad. It's bad here to the point where those 10 FBS playing schools that we do the Carolinas top 10 went 4-6 this weekend.
Woo.
And 2 of those victories were against other Carolina-based teams. I'm talking East Carolina blowing out Coastal Carolina 38-0 on their home field.
Why'd you have to remind me? Why'd you have to bring that up? Why'd you have to bring that up?
And let's see. NC State beat Wake on
Thursday night. Yeah.
Charlotte got a win, so congratulations to them. Scored 40. They had to score 42 points to beat FCS Monmouth. Did you even know that Monmouth had it's Monmouth. Monmouth. Did you know Monmouth had a football program? I didn't.
I think I might have heard of it one time, maybe.
Yeah. And the other win was North Carolina finally getting off the mat, blowing the doors off of FCS Richmond to a score of 41-6.
So what you're saying is we need to sound the alarm on the in-state programs.
Yeah.
I mean,
and here's the thing. As much as I've just railed on the FBS programs, the FCS programs are sucking it up too. Wofford lost.
Ophir.
Citadel lost. Charleston Southern lost. It's lucky for Presbyterian that they were off this weekend. They didn't play. Furman, the lone FCS win. Maybe not the lone, because I don't think I looked at every single FCS team.
At least relevant.
But here in the state of South Carolina, Furman got the win, and they needed a 9-play, 80-yard drive with 4.5 minutes on the clock to win the game.
Ugh.
I mean, God, have you ever experienced a weekend?
It's been bad.
It's been this bad.
No, I think, South Carolina fans, especially the ones that are friends of mine, Diesel, they're so funny. It's great because on Saturday, Clemson loses in the 12 noon time slot. So that game ends at like 3-something, right? Yeah. So all my friends who are Gamecock fans that I was talking with, it's like, all right, Clemson won, Clemson lost, Clemson lost. We're going to celebrate. But you only have like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5 hours to celebrate because your team also sucked this weekend. So no, I hadn't seen it this bad. I think the worst part is, Diesel, there was so much preseason hype for both programs. Clemson, we know through 3 games has looked really bad, but then South Carolina, we talked about it last week. They've shown some good things. They've also shown some areas of weakness, and it just seemed like those areas of weakness all came together in such a bad way Saturday night because the Gamecocks were horrible on Saturday night.
Take away the special team scores against Virginia Tech and last week.
Yeah.
And this South Carolina offense has looked awful as well. You had a great opening score against Virginia Tech. You had the nice opening score Saturday night against Vanderbilt. But outside of that, this South Carolina offense has been anemic. We thought Lenoris, I mean, we knew that he was going to need some help, but we thought this South Carolina offense would be pretty good. So you're certainly not a Heisman candidate playing like that.
No, you're not. And I'll say this. Look, yes, he did get hurt, but here's where I am 3 games in for the Gamecocks, Diesel. I said this after the bowl game. You remember last year when you and I talked about it. I wanted to give Mike Shula the benefit of the doubt and see what this offense would look like a few games into the season. Well, now we're just that. We're a few games into the season, right? You talked about Virginia Tech last week. Against us inferior opponent, right? South Carolina State. And then this week, Vandy. I have now, Diesel, arrived through 3 games, I've arrived to the development and settlement, I guess, in my mind, that Mike Shula has been horrendous at South Carolina. And again, I wanted to give the guy a chance. I wanted to give the guy the benefit of the doubt because he has a very, very impressive resume, a fantastic a plethora of quarterbacks to show, right? When you ask about showing your work, he's shown his work with other quarterbacks throughout his career. But Mike Shula has not elevated this South Carolina offense at all, Diesel. And it looks like Mike Shula is trying to fit Lenora Sellers into his mold instead of allowing Lenoris to be Lenoris. So here we are after 3 games. If I'm a Gamecock fan, I am officially hitting the panic button on Mike Shula.
If you're a Gamecock fan, and this is a hard question to answer, are you coming around on the thought that maybe Dowell Loggins was a better coordinator than you gave him credit for last year? I know that it's not about the coordinators and the coaches. It's about the Jimmies and the Joes, right? And Lenora Sellers was amazing at times last year. Probably hit a lot of Dowell Loggins deficiencies as well. And obviously through 3 games, Dowell Loggins at App State, things haven't been going particularly well there either. So it's hard to say Dowell's trying to figure it out as a head coach. Shula, he doesn't really have an excuse in my mind. He's coming in with NFL experience. He's got the last name. I mean, he's forgotten more football than most of us will ever know.
Sure.
And he's still looked bad. The offense has still looked really bad in 3 games for South Carolina. It's a tough spot to be in, and appreciate Zach, by the way. Zach got in and said that PC did play. You're right. I thought I looked it up earlier and saw that they had a bye this weekend. They did play. They played Erskine, and they whooped them. So a bright spot for football in the state of South Carolina. PC is putting boot to ass.
You know, the weird thing about it is that game Saturday night, look, Lenora Sellers going out obviously matters, but I tweeted out after the game, it did matter, but South Carolina just got whooped. And to see Vanderbilt, I was sitting there watching that game Saturday, Diesel, in my head thinking, boy, what a time to be alive in 2025 where Vanderbilt is completely whooping South Carolina on both sides of the ball, on the line of scrimmage. Lenore Sellers was 6 of 7 before he went down with the concussion, right, with the targeting call. They couldn't run the ball. Fajon had a couple of nice runs. His longest was a 16-yarder. I thought he was okay, but they just completely looked lost offensively. Defensively, absolutely let Diego Pavia look like Diego Manziel, right? He was 18 of 25, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have 1 bad throw that was an interception, but a QBR of 76.9, which is pretty good, like really, really good for the college level.
But this offense scored 17 against Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
They scored, 24 against South Carolina State because you had 2 returns in that game. No matter what, this offense was not going to score 32 points to beat Vanderbilt and Diego Pavia.
The offense really scored 14 against Virginia Tech. One of those was, let's give the field goal kicker a little credit there. The offense has been bad.
Yeah, and you weren't going to score 32 points to beat Diego Pavia. No. And all things being equal, the defense was god awful in this game. Awful.
I just don't know where this South Carolina offense has gone wrong in terms of how they've become so bad, because through 3 games, like you always hear, we talked about it many times, you hear how you get better from week 1 to week 2, you see your biggest improvements, yada, yada, yada. But really this South Carolina offense hasn't seen improvements. There's no development. There's no improvements. There's nothing you see. I mean, Oscar Attaway touched the football 1 time on Saturday night. There's nothing that you've seen offensively through 3 games that gives you hope. So I think the biggest part about what we got wrong for the Gamecocks, Diesel, in the preseason was believing that South Carolina would be a better unit collectively, offensively. And boy, they're not. The efficiency has completely been thrown out the window. They're not anywhere close to what they were a season ago. And even a season ago, to your point, under Dowell Loggins, they weren't great, but they weren't horrible. This year, let's call it like it is. They're pretty bad. Real quick, I want to throw this stat at you. Team stats-wise, you outgained Vandy in yards. Like, let's just all gather around and sit down and think about this for a second. Let's all cross our legs, sit in a circle, and think about it. You outgained Vandy 328 to 323, and you had 7 points to show for it. And I know you had Luke Doty in there for a lot of the game. I get that. But you had 7 points. You had 242 yards through the air, Diesel, compared to their 177. Offensively, the Gamecocks aren't efficient. They're not finishing drives. They don't have the game-breaking plays on the back end of the drives to make these touchdowns. That's pathetic.
And it begs a very serious question. And JB brought it up, other Tolos, T-Swizzle, even Dewey said something about this earlier.
Even Dewey.
What's going on in your football program and your development when Lenoris Sellers goes down and your second best option at quarterback is a guy listed on your depth chart as a wide receiver, which means he's been taking all of his preseason snaps, doing all of his preseason work as a receiver?
Well, I don't think he has. I think Doty was getting quarterback snaps preseason, but I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I'm just saying he's been taking preseason snaps as quarterback. And I don't know if you remember, Diesel, you and I and Jack Veltri had this conversation maybe a month or so ago. And I was very adamant that Luke Doty's not your number 2 quarterback. He's not. There's no question about it. That guy's not your number 2 quarterback. I don't know what the answer is, why he was in the game. Veltri, who we'll talk to tomorrow, asked Beamer about it post-game, and Beamer didn't want to go into it, but that's concerning.
Yeah. Where's Aaron Noland? Where's Cutter Woods?
Yeah.
Wouldn't now at home in a big time environment, wouldn't that be a great time to get some reps for those 2 guys? Now, I don't know if they had any plans whatsoever in trying to redshirt those guys, and they were trying to save games played as much as they possibly could. But you got to get wins now. You got to get wins now when the wins are gettable, because later on in the season, you better hope Lenoris Sellers is in these games. And it's the hard part of having a guy like him who creates with his legs. I know they want to protect him as much as they can this season, but it's part of the way he plays. It's a high-risk method of playing the quarterback position. But come on, if you're not playing your quarterbacks at quarterback, what are you doing?
So, Diesel, here's where we are now with the Gamecocks. You mentioned you got to get wins now, right, in these first 5.
Mm-hmm.
If South Carolina, through 3 games, had looked better, Gamecock fans out there would still have confidence and still have some faith that in that tough 5-game stretch that's coming up in a few weeks, they could get a couple of those. They had the confidence. They had the faith. However, here's where we are now. They don't have the confidence. They don't have the faith. They see that this team was horrible on Saturday. So now you're sitting at 2-1 with no offense, no offensive identity, Diesel, and you see this stretch coming up against LSU, A&M, Oklahoma. I mean, it's a 5-game brutal stretch there, and you're all of a sudden thinking, oh boy, this could be a 3-7 type season if things don't go way better real quick. I think Gamecock fans should be hitting the panic button today.
Yeah, it's a scary place to be. As evidenced by the AP poll, both Clemson and South Carolina fell out. I never would have thought preseason as we did that, which one of these top 10 teams is going to be the one to fall out of the top 25 at some point this year, because it always happens. Never in a million years would have guessed that it was Clemson. And the S&P rankings still have Clemson as a better team than where they even are in the AP voting. But South Carolina fell a long way. They fell from 10 to effectively 28. 11 to 28.
They did. Tyler says South Carolina showed immaturity for sure, but when your QB when your QB who is, say, your best player by far gets taken out for targeting, at least we can say we'll be better when we get them back. And sure, that's true, but there's still so many more problems. Texter says this comes from John R.
You're running, a sixth-year guy out there? Luke Doty's been in that program for a long time. He should be better than that. He should be better than that. You should be able to move.
He should be.
I mean, you should be able to move the ball.
You're right.
And get points out of those drives, and they didn't.
Also, John R. says Gamecock panic button has been pressed hard and often. Kevin says Theo Vaughn won a date with Pavia's mom. That was the one funny moment of the broadcast because the rest of it was kind of hard to watch. Texter says, I'm calling it like I see it as a Gamecock fan. I see a 6-6 season and a belt bowl appearance coming up for the Gamecocks at best. Let's see what Crazy Ralph has to say at 844-326-3663. What's up, Crazy Ralph?
What's going on, fellas? Yeah, Diesel, been a long time. I've been hesitant to call in. I wanted to give that horses behind Beamer a chance to show that last year wasn't a fluke, but I've been telling you guys, haven't I? I've been telling you for 4 friggin' years, this guy's a joke. He's a fraud. Last year was an aberration. I'm telling you right now, this friggin' moron, he can't hire any coaches. He might be the master of the living room. Yeah, to sell these parents to get these kids to the school. But when he said he was putting Mike Shula in that position of OC, I told everybody in the world, I said, this is a mistake. He's going to ruin the best quarterback prospect we've had in God knows how long. I'm telling you right now, Mike Shula couldn't coach the South Carolina School for the Deaf and the Blind. That's where he ought to be going to school right now because he's never accomplished anything as a coach. He had Cam Newton and he had $1 million offensive linemen protecting him. That's the only way that guy got to the Super Bowl. He's going to ruin us. Beamer's going to ruin us. And I'm telling you, I've been saying it. Diesel knows I've been saying it, man.
Well, if you want us to know, Crazy Ralph, if you want us to know that you've been saying it, how about call in a little more, brother?
Well, I needed a break. I felt like the world needed a break for a little while. It's been a tough year.
We want to hear more of you.
Baby.
Crazy Ralph, how much have you donated to Virginia Tech's coaching search now that Shane Beamer has been named as a possible target for the Virginia Tech program in that opening?
No, he's not smart enough to go up there. He's going to continue to make me and those that I love week after week. And this is just the way it is. He doesn't know any better. He's like a spoiled brat. I don't have a whole lot else to say, but I'll be calling back more often. I can tell you that because I don't see anything turning around anytime soon.
Ralph, we've missed you. Call back soon. Yeah, appreciate you, brother.
Daily Wires next. Tolos, we are going to push the Daily Wires to the next segment, and we love that we're having to do so. We love when you, Tolos, send us so much overreaction. And we're not being sarcastic, that you send so much interaction, so many texts, so many phone calls, so many messages on the stream that we have to push segments. That's what we want to do, so keep it coming. A really good, strong start from you, Tolos, in that first hour of the show, man. A lot of fun.
When we come back, Cole, let's do that. Let's see what else is happening around in the sports world on our Daily Wires. Tolos, we are running 1,000,000 miles an hour. No dozing off in this show. It is time to do our whip around the sports world. We don't usually do it at 4 o'clock, but like you said earlier, the 3 o'clock hour was so great with interaction. Push those two segments a little bit late. Let's get to our daily wires. Here's the buzz happening around the sports world, as if it couldn't get any worse for Carolina's sports fans. Their baseball team continues to suck. The Atlanta Braves dropped 2 of 3 against the Astros over the weekend. They're 66-83 on the season. They'll be taking on Washington tonight at 6:45 with Spencer Strider on the bump.
But the good thing is, for Braves fans out there, and I said this, I think, last week, Diesel, the light at the end of the tunnel is approaching. In less than 3 weeks, the season will be over with.
That's not a light. That's a train.
Yeah, you're right.
That's a train.
Well, the train's been just hitting us all year. So it should be used to getting hit by a train because they've sucked all year. So no surprise there.
Speaking of baseball, the Hub City Spartanburgers are in the championship series against Brooklyn. Now, unfortunately, it didn't go so well for them last night.
No.
They are in an 0-1 hole in a 3-game series. So the Burgers will be on the field, Fifth Third Park, tomorrow at 6:35, Game 2 of the South Atlantic League Championship Series.
Yeah, it's tough to lose in the fashion they did. Again, you mentioned it, a huge, huge loss there.
And Brooklyn's really good.
They are a 12-run
really
loss. Now it's do or die in Spartanburg tomorrow, Game 3 if necessary on Wednesday. By the way, Tolo's out there. We'll be joined by Ian Unsworth at 5:22 today, the media relations director and play-by-play voice of the Spartanburgers, to talk about this championship series. It's a big one. I am going to try my best tomorrow to be there. Hopefully you Spartanburger fans out there can provide a good atmosphere, because reality is it could be the last game of the season and they need the crowd behind them. You said it, Diesel. It's a really good Brooklyn team, but boy, you don't want to see the season come to an end.
Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow will need toe surgery that it's going to sideline him for at least 3 months. This is coming from ESPN's Adam Schefter. Joe Burrow was hurt with 8:36 remaining in the second quarter of yesterday's 31-27 home win when Jacksonville Jaguars defensive end Arik Armstead sacked him. The play resulted in Burrow being under other players who had fallen on top of him. Very simply, and I saw this play out on TV earlier, if you look at the bottom, the palm of your hand, like it's the bottom of a foot, this spot right here across the pads of your palm, basically there's a tear right there. And that's got to be
I'll tell you
painful.
what, man. I'll save this. I'll save most of this for my overreaction in an hour from now for Overreaction Monday, Diesel. But, man, I'll tell you what, I am just devastated for Joe Burrow. That guy has had such bad luck, and I've got an overreaction coming at 5 related to Joe Burrow.
Is he going to be the next Andrew Luck that came in with a tremendous amount of promise?
I hope
but
not.
Just kept getting hurt.
But and the thing is, he was in the Super Bowl his second season, something like that. I mean, just ultimately right off, we thought, oh God, and he's still a really, really talented quarterback. Last year, he had a great year. The defense sucked. The offensive line still sucks. But, man, I feel so bad for Joe Burrow.
The Dallas Cowboys, needing some help with the pass rush, have gone ahead and signed veteran Jadeveon Clowney. That deal expected to be finalized today. Haven't quite seen the details if it's fully finalized yet, but they're looking at a 1-year up to $6 million deal.
That's right. And, depth-wise, I think it's a good thing to have Clowney. We all know that Clowney's not what Clowney used to be, but I think they're looking for a little depth on that defensive front. Too bad Clowney can't play in the secondary, because that's where Dallas is really struggling right now, giving up so many yards yesterday to Russell Wilson, making him look like Russell Elway, and look, Deron Bland was out. But that's a good signing, I think, because you can get him for pretty cheap, right? A few $1 million, whatever it is, and then maybe add some depth at that defensive line spot.
Cole, going to go into this a little bit deeper in the 445 segment, but Virginia Tech and UCLA have moved on from their respective head coaches.
Wow.
Deshaun Foster and Brent Pry of UCLA and Virginia Tech were sacked just 3 games into the season. Virginia Tech took a 45-26 home loss to an in-state G5 Old Dominion team. They were being booed while heading into the locker room. Just an ugly 0-3 start for the Hokies.
I'm telling you, man, like you talk about how things can change so quickly in this sport. A couple of weeks ago on a Sunday afternoon, this guy had an opportunity to beat South Carolina. Like they made that game really, really close, right? And then all of a sudden, you and I were talking about it last week. There's no way they'll lose to Old Dominion, right? No, I mean, surely not. They won't lose to Old Dominion. What'd they do? Lost to Old Dominion.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about that, and this is what we'll get to in the 445 segment, is those two firings trigger a 30-day transfer portal window for any player on those rosters.
Isn't that crazy?
It's wild. We'll see how that plays out. The Carolina Panthers start the season 0-2 after a 27-22 loss on the road to the Arizona Cardinals. It's the fourth consecutive year the Panthers have opened the season 0-2. Looked awful for the first half. Made a comeback there in the second half, specifically the fourth quarter. Thought they could have made that game interesting. But when you dig yourself into that deep of a hole, Cole, it's hard to dig out.
I'll tell you what, man, you start 0-2 in the NFL, and for fan bases, it's a death knell because, like, you've looked forward to the season starting all year. You're right. You've had hopes. You've had promises. In this case, you signed Ted McMillan. You thought Bryce Young was going to be better. You thought you'd have some guys out there with Adam Thielen, but that didn't happen. Bryce hadn't looked great. Tet's looked okay. I mean, he looked good. I mean, yeah, probably worth a first-round pick, but you've got problems. And Diesel, I'll say this, man, not to go too far down a rabbit hole right now, Xavier Legette is MIA. Like this guy's, we're getting real close to have to use the B word with that guy. Oof. And I don't want to use it yet, but they're just not good right now. And 0-2, man, in the NFL, it's a death knell. Like, what do you have to look forward to? You don't make the playoffs when you start 0-2, Diesel.
Speaking of a little extra news, and this is just another kick in the groin, the Carolina Panthers will place Robert Hunt, starting guard, and their center Austin Corbett on IR after both suffered significant injuries in yesterday's game. Hunt is expected to undergo season-ending surgery on his left bicep. Austin Corbett sustained a grade 3 MCL injury to his left knee.
That's
Not
tough.
Good.
And by the way, I did fail to mention, Zach brought it up on the stream. Congratulations to Hunter Renfrow yesterday.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, so a big day for him.
That second one, that was a thing of beauty. That was thrown into really tight coverage. Good throw, good escape by Bryce. Good throw, great catch by Hunter Renfrow. Arch Manning already getting booed in Austin, Texas, Cole. They won the game 27-10. However,
it was a tough opponent, though, right?
Yeah.
It was 27-10. It's a tough opponent.
A top G5. There's that. Yeah. Booed in the first half. It's a rough start there for the Arch era.
No doubt.
I don't know. I don't know if fans are going to check out on him. I mean, when the expectations are that high, does this story not sound a little bit like the Clemson situation? When the expectations are that high and you fail to live up to them, fans will turn on you in a heartbeat. Cole.
Yeah, they will.
2 football games on tonight in the NFL. You got the Bucks and the Texans at 7:00 on ESPN, and then Chargers Raiders at 10:00.
Look, 2 football games is better than 1, and 1's better than none. So I'll take it. Donald Trump took to Truth Social to criticize the NFL's sissy kickoff rule. His words. He stated that he believes it goes against the essence of football and that it's just as dangerous as the previous kickoff rules. Has anybody out there actually enjoyed the new kickoff? I mean, this is the second year of it, right? But I hadn't seen anybody like it.
But should the president tell Roger Goodell what to do with his game?
You're surprised that our president's telling somebody? I mean, come on.
Sign an executive order, I'm sure. For the first time this season, South Carolina and Clemson have both dropped outside of the AP top 25, Cole. South Carolina sits effectively 28th. I think Clemson fell to 31st, something in the range of 6th, 7th, 8th in others receiving votes.
Yeah. And by the way, just want to be completely fair. There have been past presidents several years ago that have been very involved with sports. So if we're going to talk about, one president and their energy toward sport, let's make sure we keep it fair because there were other presidents before the last one that were very involved in sports. So just saying.
Well, there you go. Those are your daily wires, the buzz happening around the sports world. And we mentioned it a little bit, Cole, earlier. I want to play this audio for you of
oh my gosh,
Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly.
This is great, by the way.
He had a reporter ask him immediately into the press conference about why some things weren't going well, even after a win against Florida. And his reaction, I think, is justified, but is also it's a bit much. Here's Brian.
Brian in the back. I know you love these immediate post-game sessions, but what are you seeing with your offense?
Stop. Really? Is that the first question? We won the game 20-10. Try another question. What do you want me to tell you? I just laid it out for you. We played the game to win the game.
Hello?
We played the game to win the game.
All right. How about third down then? What is going on with third down?
It's one game. Last game, we were great on third down. You're looking at this from the wrong perspective. LSU won the football game. Won the game. I don't know what you want from me. What do you want? You want us to win 70-0 against Florida to keep you happy?
No, I think people want to know why you can't run the ball, quite honestly.
We can run the ball. Did you see the last play of the game? That's all you need. You just need one. There's some ridiculous questions. And I'm getting tired of it. That football team just worked their tail off to get an SEC win, and you want to know what's wrong. You know what? You're spoiled. You're spoiled. This team is 17-1 at night. 17-1. Give them some respect. How about that? Give them some respect instead of micro-analyzing every little thing. This is ridiculous. For a group of seasoned reporters, that kind of question is so out of line.
Ooh, so out of line.
I love that. I absolutely love it. So, I mean, we can break this down in so many ways. Is Brian Kelly wrong in what he said? No, I don't think so. Is the reporter wrong in what he said? No, I don't think so. Was it the best time to ask that question, Diesel? Probably not, right? You said it earlier before we went on the air. Maybe wait till Tuesday or Wednesday to let that question be asked. But ultimately, Caden Durham has 45 carries for 196 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he's averaging 4.4 yards per carry.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, LSU can't run the ball. It's a valid question, but Brian Kelly obviously very upset that it was asked right after the big win.
I mean, they put together 332 offensive yards in that game, which is it's good enough to win against a weak Florida.
That's right.
Not amazing, right? But it's an SEC opponent. They have good players on defense too that try to limit what they're doing. They threw for 220 yards in this game. Why not say, if you're Brian Kelly, does it matter when you see how well Garrett threw the ball? Does it matter when you see that he threw for 220 yards? I know you want us to run the ball because it makes you feel all good and warm and fuzzy when we put up 200 yards on the ground, but he was still 15 of 27 for 220 and a touchdown, averaged 8 yards per reception. It wasn't a mind-blowing game for Garrett Nussmeier, but it's good enough to win. And especially when you say that we beat Florida on the ground, 102-79. Again, those are not sexy numbers. That's awful if you're Florida, to be honest, to muster only 79 rushing yards in a game. Now, Florida also torched LSU in receiving yards, 287 to 220. Okay, torched is not the right word when it's 67 yards.
Yeah.
But they beat them throwing the football. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. You won the game.
You
get better and you learn things about yourself in poor performances, and you still get the win.
So what's interesting about that, Diesel, is, look, you're right. Brian Kelly's right. In the SEC, you will take a win any way you can get it, right? Yeah. There's no doubt. Like, you will take a hard – is Florida great? No. Is it still an SEC win? 100% it all. 100% it is. It's an SEC win. Now, what do we say all the time with Clemson and South Carolina too, Diesel? You can win games but still have underlying issues. We saw that with South Carolina the first 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
With Virginia Tech and with South Carolina State.
Hey, where are those people that said that were all on top of me for saying that it was an ugly win against Virginia Tech?
Right. It's
where
an
are those
ugly.
people?
Yeah, I mean, same thing for Clemson, right? There are so many teams out there that have wins, but also have underlying issues. Brian Kelly, again, not wrong in what he said, Diesel. I think you said he apologized. I'm sure he regrets and the way he went about it, right? The manner, the tone. I'm sure he regrets that. But as a coach, when you prepare all week long and you're facing an SEC team and it's a grind and it's a battle, you'll take it. Like, you'll take it any way you can get it. It doesn't matter if it's a safety, a field goal, 1 point, 60, and the SEC winning's hard. So I think that's where probably his frustration was with the reporter.
This was his quote from his news conference today. Quote, "I've texted with the reporter and offered my apology to him for the way I handled the questioning. I think it's important to understand that, my standards relative to how we work with the media on a day-to-day basis need to be higher. And I take responsibility for that, and I'll be better in the future." Look, I mean, if you're LSU, you're a top 5 team. And you could handle that by saying, look, did we look particularly great today? No. Are there things that we can fix? Yes. But college football, especially this season, is going to be a war of attrition. Because think how crazy it is that so many teams have struggled to uphold what their preseason expectations were. Clemson, prime example. South Carolina is a good example. Texas and Arch, maybe the most glaring example. Everybody thought Arch was going to be the second coming.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been. He's been bad. Does that not mean that Arch can get better? Of course he can get better. I mean, he's got a lot of talent. He was recruited to Texas for more than just his last name.
He was. And look, I ultimately like where LSU's at. Do they have to run the football better? I think so. I think they've got to be better in the ground game because, now let's give the reporter some credit as well. To his question, to his point, Diesel, I don't know the guy. I would imagine that the reporter is thinking about it from a big picture standpoint, right? That in order for your team to get where you want to be, eventually at some point this season, you're going to have to be able to run the football. Is the reporter right? Probably so. Is Brian Kelly right in saying what he did? I think they're both right.
Well, Tolo, speaking of somewhere you want to be, how about this? At the end of the next segment, we're going to talk to Grayson Mann of TigerNet. At the end of the next segment, we'll give you a chance to call in and win Trans-Siberian Orchestra tickets. On Friday, you heard us have on Jeff Plate, the drummer of TSO, and they are going to be playing 2 shows right here in Greenville in the month of December. And if you want to score those tickets, be listening after Grayson Mann in the next segment.
Every Monday at 4:22 p.m., we talk to Grayson Mann of TigerNet.com. If you didn't know that, Tolos, make sure you set a reminder for every single Monday if you want to hear Grayson Mann and some really good Clemson conversation right here on the Fan Upstate. Grayson, let's start with this. The most ridiculous, the most outlandish overreaction you've seen from Clemson fans this weekend has been what?
Oh, it's interesting because I feel like I've seen it all this weekend. I really have. It's been something, Cole, to really say it. Since Saturday, it feels like my phone has been an earthquake that won't stop shaking. And I don't know. I look at overreactions, and maybe the loudest one in the room that I've seen is probably the fire Dabo ones, which would probably never happen. So if I had to choose one, I feel like a lot of the reactions from Clemson fans, which may be crazy for me to say, I feel like the frustration's pretty warranted right now. And so when I look at some of the reactions online asking for change and a lot of the things that we'll probably talk about today, maybe that one that I've mentioned is a little over the top, but overall, I've read a lot of comments. I've seen a lot of frustration, and I feel like a lot of it's valid.
Grayson, do you feel like that might be part of the problem in the fact that Dabo Swinney might be the only football coach in college football right now who knows that no matter what he does, he's never getting fired, right? I mean, Nick Saban was that guy before he ultimately left the profession, but Dabo has no pressure whatsoever from Graham Neff, and that's not something that any other coach in football can say. And, you kind of get this, well, ho-hum, we're pretty good. I know we hadn't played well, but we're a pretty good team. I mean, don't you think that there needs to be some pressure from up top from Graham Neff and co?
I'm not going to speak on any conversations he and Dabo might have had, but I can sure tell you that there's pressure coming from the fan base, and that's a very loud group, very loud majority of folks that are angry and folks that have kind of seen months and months of anticipation and hype about this team. And on paper, when we listed everything out this summer, you felt like on paper, I stressed that enough. It feels pretty jarring for the last 21 days of how much things have changed. But on paper, you looked at this in July and felt this team could make the playoffs. This team's got a favorable schedule. And 1-2, the loss to Troy could have easily made it 0-3. And so things have kind of snowballed in the wrong direction. It's just a ball that continues to pile up. And there's someone at the bottom of the hill that's seeing this thing charging down, and they don't have time to dive out of the way. So they're just kind of embracing their arms left and right and saying, let's just embrace the suck, as my strength coach used to say.
Grayson, I think I'm guilty of it too, in terms of buying into the hype a little bit or way too much from what we had in the offseason and what we heard. I want to ask you this, though. I think the fair question to ask is, for all of us, myself included, why were we buying into hype during the offseason? What did we see from 2024 against quality opponents that made us believe this was a national championship team and Heisman quarterback?
Yeah, we saw a quarterback that in multiple occasions, Clemson needed him at their bleakest hour. I look at the game against Pittsburgh. They're down 3 points on the road to a Pittsburgh team that had a lot of hype entering this year. And Klubnik drives down the distance of the field, 50-yard scramble touchdown, impromptu moment. He gets it done. Virginia Tech, this team's reeling from a Louisville loss. Klubnik, a couple second-half touchdowns, gets it done in Blacksburg. Not an easy place to play. You have the ACC championship. Klubnik puts up 34 points. ACC championship MVP, multiple ACC championship spots. He's been the best player on the field. Texas, where Texas knows they're going to throw the football because Phil Maffa is basically a limping horse in the barn. And he goes out there and puts on a show. And so all the players that had come back, TJ Parker, Peter Woods, Antonio Williams, who's hurt still, Cade Klubnik, a lot of national hype as well that hasn't really been seen at Clemson. Even in years past where maybe locally the team and local fans thought, hey, this is going to be pretty good. Feels like the national media was pushing that. I'm not assessing blame by any means, but it feels like collectively, everywhere you looked, Clemson was the media darling, and all of a sudden that's fallen apart. So on paper, this team looked like it had the right pieces, and it felt like Dabo had finally put it all together, but some of the same issues that we talked about from last year, 2023, 2022, they're still prevalent, and that's a big problem.
Grayson, benching Bryce Young seemed to work for him in the second half of the season last night for the Carolina Panthers. Is there any indication, you would know better thinking back on the entirety of Cade Klubnik's career, where Dabo has pulled him from games and Cade's reaction after finally getting back in?
There hasn't been a moment in my mind where it's felt like Klubnik was, even in 23 when things were really bleak, it felt like Klubnik was only coming out if he was hurt or Clemson had designed something for Vizina like we saw against Troy. But I have said, and I said this morning on our podcast on TigerNet, that if things go sideways again on Saturday, then I think you got to throw 17 out there and see what you can do. I think that there's at that point, and by I mean sideways, I mean things have gotten really disastrous. And at that point, when you're 1-3, the season's over, and throwing Vizina out there helps you study data for 2026. And so that's the conversations we got to have at this point with this team. And it may sound harsh. It may sound like things have gotten really bleak where your millionaire quarterback, it's getting paid a lot of money, is all of a sudden not really the option for the team, may not be the best option for the team 3 games in. So it's a pretty sobering reality after he was one of the Heisman front runners entering 2025. And you look across the country too, expectations have been the Achilles heel for other quarterbacks. Arch Manning has not looked the part. Cade Klubnik has not looked the part. Garrett Nussmeier struggled outside the gate, out of maybe a couple drives against Clemson. So not a great year for quarterbacks in that top 3 there, but that's my opinion. That some may agree. The leading man certainly disagrees with what I have to say. But at some point, you got to try something new.
Grayson, you mentioned there in that answer that if they were to lose to Syracuse, they'd have 3 losses and the season would be over. So let me ask you this. Does that mean that if and when that 3rd loss comes at whatever point in the season, it's a wash, so you should go ahead and start planning for 2026?
That's just my personal opinion. I think that in 2022, after that Syracuse game, when it looked pretty apparent that DJ had lost a step and it was time, Klubnik came in, won you that game with a lot of energy. Now, granted, they just ran the football down Syracuse's throat that afternoon, but Klubnik provided you something. The team played with a little bit more energy. And whenever you have to bench a quarterback, the team usually plays a little bit better that next week because everybody's on notice at that point. Now, it stinks that we're having to have this conversation about Klubnik, a quarterback that we've seen play really well. And we've sat here and done this segment in the past or at any other point and talked about, man, Klubnik was brilliant on Saturday, or he really made some plays for them to win. That hasn't been the case this year. And for a 3rd-year starting quarterback with a 3rd-year offense and a 3rd-year offensive coordinator, yes, Riley's play calling hasn't been great, but there are players that are open. There are guys that you rewatch the game and certain reads are being stared down. There are certain turnovers that can't happen with Klubnik at the helm. And so there's just, at some point, you got to find how long is the leash and what does this team need to get that shot in the arm that it desperately needs.
Find him on Twitter at Gray_man21. You mentioned his name, so let's park on Garrett Riley here for just a second. I asked you a couple of weeks ago if you thought Garrett Riley would be the OC at Clemson next year. Now we're looking at things through a different lens, and things have not gone well. Oh, yeah. Is that a ludicrous statement to make that maybe at the end of the season, if things don't improve, they may move on from Garrett Riley?
I think we were talking about if he could be a head coach somewhere, which is crazy how things change, right?
Yeah.
It's what results do. And I think for Riley, it's a contract year and hasn't so far performed up to the standard that maybe fans had hoped for. Now, I will say, I would love to see what he could do with a different quarterback because we've only seen one. And maybe there's a little bit more he can do with a different playmaker, a Tate Reynolds that he's recruited that I really like, a really raw prospect, but under the right coaching. Keyword, the development right there for him. I think it'd be really good. Kareem Hewley, 2027, really likes Garrett Riley and really likes what he could do with this Clemson offense. So maybe looking down the road with some of these potential freshmen coming in, say maybe we got to give it a little bit more. And so you have that leeway there. But it's an interesting conversation, again, that we're having. These are the questions that we are pondering and answering here on September 15th instead of maybe November 15th.
Yeah.
It caught up a lot quicker. And I think we had said in Charlotte that 1 and 2 was potentially on the table for this team, but it could have looked a lot different. And there could have been that mulligan of, well, they did beat the living you-know-what out of Troy. And, man, that LSU game just came down to – and we've said Sweeney has said it's come down to a few plays, but they're also a few plays away from 0-3. So I don't really I don't buy into that one for sure.
So, Grayson, it kind of reminds me, and it works well since you're a Patriots fan, it kind of reminds me of is it or was it Brady or was it Belichick, right? When it comes to Riley and Klubnik, you're saying that there's, and I think other Clemson fans would agree with you that maybe let's see what another quarterback looks like under Garrett Riley. And I guess that kind of begs the question of, are we saying that it's more on Klubnik in your mind?
I do. I am saying that. I've watched the last 3 games multiple times, and the conclusion that I think LSU, you could pin a lot of that on the offensive line and the protection, and that only holds up so true if on Saturday we're against Georgia Tech. I thought the protection was fine. I thought that combination played really well and gave Klubnik a lot of time, but the offense was hot and cold. There were moments where Klubnik made plays and made open throws. The one to Wesco where he ended up doing the rest himself, read the field well, scanned it, made a couple of big third down throws, but there's still some of those same mistakes that we've done this for 3 games now and had the same sort of complaints.
So if it's on Klubnik, didn't mean to cut you off, but if it's on Klubnik, kind of a follow-up, just a curiosity question. I think Clemson fans want to know this as well. If it's more on Klubnik from what you're seeing when you watch the game and then go back and watch it, what is it exactly that you're seeing that others that you talk to see as well as to why he just simply isn't getting it done?
It seems to be a mental thing because I think the talent's there that we've seen it at some points, but there's a lot of the same habits and mistakes. And one of the things that really caught my eye and caught my ear was when Sweeney talked about some of the habits that Cade Klubnik had in the LSU game and said, I don't know where that came from. That feels like something from his the first few starts that he had as a sophomore, where the feet in the pocket aren't all there. Maybe he's staring down a read or two. And there was one to Josh Sapp against LSU where it was double coverage, but he's looking at it the whole time and still throws it anyways. I'm thinking, that's a senior quarterback. That's a third-year starter. I don't know where that throw's coming from a guy that I've seen make layered throws against Texas in the playoffs. So there's this jarring reality of, I've seen it on the other side, so I don't know where these habits are coming from. And so it's a really confusing and it's jarring is the word, Cole, to really think about it. But it's these same habits for the last 3 games where it's just a little bit frustrating. And I feel for the fans. I really do. It's a frustrating thing to have to process.
Grayson, you pointed out there that Dabo is getting pressure and heat from the fans. I don't know how much of that he hears and how much of that he is insulated away from. But the Clemson media has been criticized quite heavily in the past and on this show about an hour ago for sometimes taking it a little too easy on Dabo and kind of asking the softball questions. He's got a media availability tomorrow. Do you think that there's a chance that the tenor of those media availability sessions changes if this play continues over the course of this season?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I will say, though, that the guys that are on this beat do a fantastic job. A lot of them really do. And so I think that comment's usually frustration just because there's a certain way, and we've seen it with, unfortunately, sometimes you ask the hard question and the coach in Brian Kelly ends up throwing a tirade in front of your colleagues. So there's a tough balancing act. And usually, and sometimes with these situations, in Sweeney's case and in our case, we ask the tough question. The relationship usually clashes. There's bound to be moments like that. So could things get contentious? Potentially. But I think what we'll do as a collective beat is we'll ask the necessary questions, and maybe fans won't like it. Maybe they do. And I think that's just up to them. But overall, I think this beat does do a pretty good job of evaluating this team. And I think questions and the opinion of that's pretty subjective, depending on who you ask.
One of our Tolos on the stream asked about if we could ask you, Grayson, on why Gideon Davidson hasn't seen much playing time.
Yeah, I think it's just the playbook for him and still trying to grow into it. Randall really hasn't been one that has dictated we really got to get him off the field. Felt like Randall's been Clemson's spark plug for the last few weeks. Against Troy, several plays that Randall made that opened in that second half that gave Clemson their only win of the season thus far. And then on 3rd and 22, as you guys know, if you're running the football on 3rd and 22, you're essentially waving the white flag on that drive. And you're just trying to prevent a disastrous play. And Randall takes it 30 yards. And so there's been a lot of positives from 8. But, yeah, I think Davidson's a heck of a ball player and someone that Sweeney said before fall. I think it was either fall camp or before we really got into the weeds of the season that Davidson was the best high school back in the country his senior year. So I think for him, it's just going to come down to the coach's trust. A lot of that's going to come down to blocking specifically, sort of the nuances of the position. But overall, I think that the rotation to the question, I'd like to see more out of Davidson, especially with the way the season's going. It's all about data points from here on out and trying to figure out what is valuable to this group and this roster for next year, potentially, especially if Saturday continues in this trend.
Grayson, you're the best. Appreciate your time, and hit Dabo with a tough one tomorrow, would you?
I'll do it for you, Diesel, just for you, buddy.
Yes. Grayson Mann, TigerNet.com. Always appreciate him and his time on the show. He is fantastic, and as Diesel said, make sure you give him a follow on Twitter, on X. Do it right now and let him know you heard him on the Fan Upstate. It's Gray_Man21. That's with 2 N's. Gray_MANN21 is where you can give him a follow on Twitter, on X.
And you heard me bring it up earlier at the tail end of the last segment. Now's your chance, Tolos. Be caller number 5 at 844-326-3663 for your chance to win 2 tickets to go see Trans-Siberian Orchestra Friday, December 12th at Bon Secours Wellness Arena in Greenville. Caller number 5 again at 844-326-3663. Gonna score those tickets. When we come back, 2 head coaches got the axe this weekend, and it's triggering a really interesting new caveat and part of the House versus NCAA settlement. We'll talk about that next on the Fan Upstates. Well, congratulations to Tim from Simpsonville. Scored those Trans-Siberian Orchestra tickets. Guess what? As the phone lines completely lit up, all 8 lines were lit up. We're going to have another chance for you to win every single day this week. So, Tolos, if you didn't win this time, if your name's not Tim from Simpsonville, you're going to have more chances.
Let's go.
So keep listening every day this week. We'll hook you up with a chance to score those tickets. But Cole, we got 2 head coaches in college football who already have gotten the big ugly axe just 3 weeks into the season. Virginia Tech's Brent Pry after starting 0-3 and UCLA's Deshaun Foster. I mean, could it have gone any worse for Deshaun Foster? I mean, from the introductory press conference, he was stumbling and fumbling over his words. They bring in Joey Aguilar as a transfer this year. Then they say, you know what? Wait. We're going to go after Nico. They bring Nico in. They let Joey go. Nico has sucked.
Yeah.
Joey's been really good at Tennessee. I mean, it's as bad as it gets.
Makes Josh Heupel look like the smartest guy in the room, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, look, UCLA has fallen down on tough times so bad. I mean, it is as bad as it can get. And it doesn't surprise me because, like, there's just no excuse for it. There's just no excuse in my mind for, in this new era of college football, for Southern Cal and UCLA in California with all that money, all that talent right there in your backyard to be as bad as you have been. It blows my mind. And then for Brent Pry, I mean, Diesel, you're talking about a guy who's 16-24 overall, 10-13 in the ACC, couldn't even hold a average or winning record in the ACC, and 0-3 starts this season. Is Virginia Tech a powerhouse? No, we know that they're not a blue blood anymore. But certainly Brent Pry, his job he did there was just uninspiring to say the least.
Yeah, and for Virginia Tech, you're in such a tough spot because as soon as you find somebody, if you get lucky enough to land a coach that is special, that can bring Virginia Tech back up into that 9-10 win realm, he's going to get hired away like that.
Yeah,
because
probably.
you don't have the money that the SEC programs and the Big Ten programs have.
But how do you not, and I know the season's still going on, like it just started, by the way, how do you not, if you're Virginia Tech, just go right up the road or down south or whatever it is, I don't want to be corrected, and call Jamie Chadwell? I mean, like where this is, come on. I mean, you've got to, if you want to somehow, some way, Diesel, get back the relevance, throw whatever you got. He's making pretty good at Liberty,
I got to
by the way,
think
right?
that Jamie Chadwell's history, and he's got a little history of maybe some improprieties, especially when he was down at Charleston Southern, and some of that followed him to Coastal Carolina. I think he's done a pretty good job kind of distancing himself from that over the years. I mean, maybe that's the reason why Power 4 programs just aren't calling him, because he's clearly a good football coach.
I don't think so, man.
I can't figure it out either.
I don't know that that's the reason. I just ultimately think that you've got to prove yourself. And I don't know that Jamie Chadwell, according to a lot of people, in these big positions, is proven enough.
Is beating up on literally the worst schedule in FBS proving anything to anyone?
No, and that's the problem. And they're not good this year either. I mean, they're not like blowing the doors off. So I don't know. I mean, look, he's making a ton of money at Liberty, but man, like you're Jamie Chadwell, you would think that you go to Virginia Tech, you're going to make a lot more. He's making $4 million a year right now, and it's a 7-year deal. So he's making pretty good money. Brent Pry at Virginia Tech,
he's making $5.
He was at 4.75. So yeah, God. Right at him. So you're really talking about $750,000, right?
I mean, if I'm him, I'm demanding 5.5. I don't know if he'll get it. I'm just saying you demand it because you see how fast guys get fired from that program and how down bad that program really is.
Sure.
It's tough, but it can get worse. It can get worse, Cole, because firing Brent Pry and Deshaun Foster for UCLA triggered the new, never before been invoked 30-day transfer window, where players on those two rosters, by virtue of their head coach leaving, can enter a transfer portal. Now, I don't know how many opportunities any of those players are going to have because pretty much everybody's roster is already stacked and filled unless somebody is just decimated by injuries this early in the season. That might be the only thing that creates a window for programs to pick off the UCLA and Virginia Tech rosters. But I mean, think about the potential worst case scenario of a whole bunch of guys leaving and then them not having enough guys to finish a season. Think about that. A power program forfeiting games because they don't have a roster. It's not going to get to that point, but it's not that far off.
It's wild to think about, man. Tolos, I am calling on you. Why? Well, when we gave away those TSO tickets a few minutes ago, the phone lines literally filled up within a matter of seconds.
Lit up like a Christmas tree.
Literally like a Christmas tree. And I mean, I didn't know we had so many phone lines. So it's good to know that you Tolos out there will call and try to win some free tickets. But I want the same type of response because most of you out there have a team that either won or lost this weekend. I want that same response in the very next segment for Overreaction Monday. It doesn't matter who your team is. It doesn't matter if they won or lost. I want to hear from you. We want that energy and your best overreaction. 844-326-3663. Let's fill the phone lines up now on the Fan Upstate. Well, you know what, Diesel? We have some Tolos out there who, over the past year and a half, have really done well when it comes to overreacting, telling us what they feel with their chest, saying it with their chest. And I think we have some Tolos today who are really going to set the bar even higher. I really mean that, because there's nothing like a good chain reaction from an overreaction, and that's what we are asking of you Tolos in this segment. If you've never called the show before, how about today being the first time you do call the show at 844-326-3663, because we know you're a sports fan. You're probably a Clemson or South Carolina fan. You're probably upset. You probably have an overreaction, right? Make it a good one, too. Don't just say, oh, Beamer should be fired.
I've seen a lot of power T's in the upstate, too. There's probably a lot of upset Tennessee Volunteer fans.
There are a lot of Tennessee fans in the upstate. We know we have a lot of Ohio State fans. And you know what? They do a great job of texting the show. They need to call a little bit more. I'd like to hear from those Buckeyes. But let's get it going. We've got a few on hold, but Tolo's out there. You're just getting off work. It's Monday. Your Monday is behind you, right? It's the worst day of the week by far. However, your day's done. Now let's make it fun. Overreact at 844-326-3663. Already some coming in over the stream, as well as the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. Same number you use to text the show and call the show. Diesel and I will have an overreaction as well. But when you call, you do skip to the front of the line. And Dewey knows all about skipping to the front of the line, and he wants to chime in first at 844-326-3663. Dewey, what is your overreaction on this Overreaction Monday?
Oh, well, first of all, I'm going to say the obvious. Cade Klubnik, he needs to be replaced ASAP. Whoever's next in line to be their quarterback. If not, they just find another quarterback. But he's not the guy. He's just not the guy. And the game itself, it wasn't an entirely poorly played game. It's just Cade couldn't get it going. He just ran all over the place. Like, I don't know what's going on. Their offensive line sucks, apparently, because he was running for his life half the time. And it was a point in the game where I thought Georgia Tech was actually going to run away with it. But for whatever reason, Georgia Tech let Clemson get away with a 3rd and 22, and Clemson was able to gain momentum. But overall, it was poorly played by the Clemson offense.
Dewey's talking ball today, paying attention.
Dabo's just sick of Dabo and his arrogance, his nerdiness, his lack of accountability. Now for South Carolina, first of all, they did not take Vanderbilt seriously.
Ooh.
No one took Vanderbilt seriously except maybe Beamer, and I don't think Beamer took it as seriously as he should have. That Pavia guy, he wiped the plate with them. But the problem with South Carolina was North Sellers. They had a chance to go up 14-7. He threw an interception in the end zone. You can't do that. You can't do that against a good team. Vanderbilt's a good team. So guess what happened? The game fell apart from there. Next thing you know, he got hurt, and then that was the ball game. And then everything else just fell apart from there. Carolina's defense sucks. 31 points. He didn't try.
I
don't even know what to say about that, except you're not going to win another game this year until you get to Coastal Carolina with this.
God.
Sellers comes back and he gets healthy, or you find another backup because that backup quarterback sucks. And as far as anything else, I hit on my upset pick finally. So in your face, Leprechaun lineman.
Oh, that's perfect.
What a transition.
That's perfect. Because you know who else is on the line, Cole?
Hiddly who?
Hiddly who? What have you got to say?
Hiddly who, dear boys? Oh, me heart, me nerves, me head. Dewey's in me head now. I barely have a pulse. I thought I should let you know. I've been admitted to Greenville Memorial Hospital. I'm lying here next to me good enemy, the Clemson Tiger. We're both currently on life support. Doctors are only giving me a 1% chance to make it to the playoffs. Boys, I think I'm fading, and it's only week 3. I still have more smack talk to give. This can't be the weeks in a row with terrible defense, and we may end in disgrace. I'm telling you, Coach Freeman, he made a mistake this year to hire Christopher Ash. He's a worthless defensive coordinator. Fire his no good. But there's my work phone going off. If he does fire him, we may have a chance of winning the rest of our games. But if I die this year, I'll be glad I cheered for the grand old Notre Dame.
Wider, what's your name? What's your name?
Never had a Tolo call from number one, the mythical realm of wherever leprechauns live. Number two, from life support, from a deathbed.
Was that the best one yet? Like, I think that the location of that was pretty good.
It's good.
From Greenville Memorial Hospital, he said, right?
Yeah.
That's incredible. Before we get to Tom real quick.
Yeah.
Zach on the YouTube stream asked me if I'd seen Tom Brady or Adam Schefter's recent tweet as of 5 minutes ago. Deez, I want to read this to you, okay? So 5 minutes ago on X, Adam Schefter, the real Adam Schefter, tweeted out, and I want your instant reaction, and I'm going to read the whole tweet. It says, Tom Brady is coming out of retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of. To join Saquon, McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, Max Crosby, Rob Gronkowski, Sauce Gardner, Myles Garrett, and others for the Fanatics Flag Football Classic, a competitive flag football tournament taking place in Saudi Arabia in 2026. So Tom Brady is coming out of retirement to play in a flag football game overseas.
You dead to me, Tom. You dead to me, Tom. You're taking Saudi money. You're dead to me. God.
Didn't expect that on this Overreaction Monday, but Tom Brady coming out of retirement. How about that?
Cole, we haven't talked about this, and I'm blanking now on who it was. The reception at the back of the end zone for Clemson against Georgia Tech. Remember how we broke down the Nick Harbor touchdown that was reversed against Virginia Tech? There was a very similar play, and I don't remember which Clemson receiver it was.
I think it was Bryant Wesco.
Was it?
I think he had the only touchdown.
He grabbed the ball and he kind of pinned it against his upper left leg, took 2 steps out of bounds, and then lost control of the football. Do you have any problem with that call being overturned and being ruled incomplete?
I need to go back. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. I do remember what you're talking about, though. I just, off the top of my head, I need to see the video. I need to see the video. Okay. By the way, I love the new ACC. We get to, as fans, hear what's going on in terms of communication.
Fantastic, isn't it?
That is awesome.
Having the lead referee back in the booth telling him, hey, this is what I'm going to show you. This is the clip. This is what I think it is.
That's great.
It's fantastic.
All right, Overreaction Monday continues. Tom in Somerville is up next. Tom, what is your Monday overreaction?
The Gamecocks suck. That's my overreaction. You know, I told you last week I was worried about Vanderbilt, and from the opening drive, they went right down the field, shut the ball right where the sun don't shine, and you know, I know the Gamecocks went down the field and tied the game up, but from the opening drive, it felt bad. As soon as that game started, something felt off, and sure enough, they kicked our behind up and down the field for 4 quarters. And, you know, I get sick and tired of seeing people say, well, if Lenores wouldn't have got hurt. They would have beat our butt if he played for 4 quarters. That team Saturday night was not prepared one diddly squat. Vanderbilt wanted it more. They thought they were just going to be able to go out there and beat Vanderbilt like they have the last 15 years. And Vanderbilt came to play. The Gamecocks did not. Beamer ought to be ashamed of the way that team played Saturday night. That team was lifeless from the start. It was a complete embarrassment on national TV. You know, I don't agree with Dewey that this team isn't going to win another game till Coastal.
to wire. What's your name?
Long football season. I mean, I'm not ready to throw the towel in yet, but I think to me the most maddening part of the game on Saturday, other than how lackadaisical they looked, was, the game was over. And you're throwing it, you're putting a quarterback out there that's been in college long enough to collect Social Security, and you're not even giving, a guy like Cutter Woods an opportunity. We hear about Aaron Nolan, give him an opportunity, because no disrespect to Luke Doty, but he's not a college quarterback. I think we would have realized that, 15 years ago when he stepped on campus. It was a complete joke and a complete embarrassment for what I watched on Saturday night. I was ashamed.
I don't think that's an overreaction, Tom, at all. I think they did suck. I mean, plain and simple. They sucked, and I think Shane Beamer would admit to that.
And the problem, Tom, is you were playing a human cheat code in Diego Pavia. I mean, it is for the other teams, for the opposition, it is infuriating to play against that guy, because everything, no matter how silly, no matter how convoluted, it always just seems to work for him, especially in the situations when they have to have it. He seems to always get it.
Well, and the thing is, with Vanderbilt, they're more than just a team with a good quarterback. They have great wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
The offensive line is really good, and the defense is lights out. Like right now, Vanderbilt has better receivers than South Carolina. They've got a better offensive line than South Carolina, and the defense is right there.
No, I'm with you.
That is what's so maddening.
Thanks for the call, Tom. By the way,
thanks, Tom.
Tom's right. We talked about it in the first hour. Up front, Vanderbilt just whooped South Carolina on the line of scrimmage. So I'm with them there. T Experience up next. What is your overreaction, T Experience?
This can't be good.
All right, T. The fact that I lost to two jabronis, just kidding, I love you guys, but my fantasy
what's your name?
By the way, your team could be number one at the end of the season. Check for your injuries, check for the rest of that, blah, 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 blah. I missed the draft because I was on the way to Florida to watch the opening season opener against Southside Christian Academy, basically, of the Long Island Sharks. We blew them out. Okay. On top of that, again, I missed the draft because I was in Florida, but I'm back here now on 85 in this wicked, god-awful traffic. Should have stayed gone, but anyway, the fact that I just lost to both of you guys in weeks 1 and now losing in week 2, like it's BTA belt to is what I'm taking right now. I can't take it. I don't even think I'm gonna win a freaking game this year.
Getting whooped in fantasy football.
Sucks. That's all I got. And my Gators are absolute trash.
Thanks, T Experience.
Absolute trash.
You know, it's funny, Cole. Is it took me a lot of context clues to understand which team he was talking about losing, because everybody's losing this weekend.
Fantasy football. T Experience not doing well in fantasy football. So hopefully your luck changes there, T Experience. I don't know. Maybe you'll play me next week and get a win. We've got Joey up next on this Overreaction Monday. Joey, what's your overreaction, man?
More like I told you so. Before the beginning of the season, when we did the predictions for Clemson, I said 8-4 was going to be the ceiling. We are 2 losses away from that. It's going to happen. They'll probably be 5-7.
Lock it up, he says.
You know, I mean,
5 losses.
No, ultimately, Joey. Ultimately, now with Clemson 1-2, 8-4 doesn't look far at all, does it? So I can't call you crazy.
Bad.
No, well, let me say this: it doesn't look bad compared to what you've seen through 3 games, but it does look bad compared to preseason expectations, right?
Oh yeah. But the expectations that everybody kept putting out, we're going to go undefeated, ACC champs, whatever. Klubnik is not the guy.
You think he should be benched, Joey?
Is not the guy.
Whoa,
Joey, do you think Klubnik should be benched?
I think it's time to give somebody else an opportunity just to see if they developed more before they got to Clemson than they've developed since they've been at Clemson.
Yeah. And I'm with you on that. I really am. Thanks for the
call.
call.
There's zero player development, period.
Yeah. No, I can't disagree.
Thanks, Joey. And look, I think benching Cade to wake him up, because we know Cade has talent. He's just not showing it. And I don't know what it is. Benching Bryce Young brought the talent out of him. Maybe benching Cade will bring the talent out of Cade.
They need a Tyler from Spartanburg type moment, I believe, right? I saw the best tweet of the weekend before we go back to the phones, Diesel. Somebody said, man, I am upset with Clemson. I bought a lot of stock when Dabo said buy stock, 2 years ago when they had the infamous, if Clemson's a stock, you better buy it now. He said, I bought it and now I'm broke. I want my money back from the stock that I bought when Dabo told us to buy stock, right? And ultimately, that's the reality. That's the truth of it. Dan B. up next on Overreaction Monday. Dan, what is your overreaction?
Dan, you with us? Hello, Dan.
Dan.
Okay. Dan.
Did Dan fall asleep? Wait, is Dan on a plane right now? Because he is a pilot.
Dan,
if you are,
we got a failure to take off here. Can just let's do this. Dan, call us back. Dan, call us back. We understand that. I don't know what's going on.
Failure to take off. I like that. How about this though, real quick? This might have been the best part of Overreaction Monday.
Would have beat our butt if he played for 4 quarters.
I'm in Somerville.
It was
you gotta love it.
It was Josh Sapp, by the way,
yes.
The Clemson wide receiver that caught the ball. Looked like it could have been called
That's right.
a catch, and it was initially called a catch on the field, reversed later. I thought there were some similarities, not exactly, not identical, but some similarities to the call that you had a big problem with of Nick Harbor's touchdown being ruled incomplete. How long do you need to retain control of the ball, and why do you need to retain control of the ball once you're already a step or two out of bounds?
Yeah,
that shouldn't matter what happens out of bounds.
Dan B, you got us now, buddy?
Yeah, I have no idea. Right when you was about to take my call, my phone dropped and I couldn't even call you back. I had to turn it off, turn it back.
It's all
on.
good. What's your overreaction, man?
Failure to take off for sure. Just par for the course for me, apparently, because I was going to overreact, complain about the guy that puts together the upset picks not having it ready for 4 o'clock.
Whoa! I like it. I like it. That's a bomb drop right there. By the way, that would be yourself, right?
Yes, that would be myself. So I am working on it right now. I might can have it before 6. So we'll see. I'll just throw out a few teasers. New leader. 99 people on the board now, went from 81 to 99, and that includes about 8 people that dropped off. So
that would be me.
Yeah, a lot of zeros, including yourself. A lot of zeros.
I didn't drop off. Thank you, Diesel. I was never on. You can't drop off if you're never on the board.
Even Diesel last week teased the Vandy pick instead of Florida to me, and I was like, nah, I'd rather try for the 7.5. No, that was a dumb call.
And you forgot the most important one, that my wife that doesn't even watch football is kicking my ass.
Yeah, I saw it.
She hit for another one.
Oh, that's so good.
God.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
Appreciate you.
That's good stuff, man. Really good stuff.
So there you go. New leader.
That was a good overreaction Monday, man. That was a really good. We need more of that. Need more of that.
When we come back, let's talk championship baseball. No, not the Braves. Sit down, Braves fans. We're not talking about you. We're talking about the Hub City Spartanburgers, Cole, trying to stay alive in the South Atlantic League Championship Series. We'll talk to Ian Unsworth next.
Sports Talk.
Well, from talking about a couple of teams that have no chance to get into a championship game, at least the way they're looking so far, to a team that's currently playing in one, we talk about the Hub City Spartanburgers, now in the South Atlantic League Championship Series. Tomorrow night, game 2, it's do or die. And to talk about it, we bring on Ian Unsworth, Broadcast and Media Relations Manager of the Hub City Spartanburgers. Now, obviously, Ian, you would like to be sitting in the catbird seat at 1-0 instead of 0-1, but being in this situation has got to feel really special. Do you let yourself, as the play-by-play voice of the Spartanburgers, give in to the moment, or do you work really hard to treat this like it's any other game tomorrow?
Well, first of all, fellas, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
Second of all, I think that it's a big game tomorrow, but it can't be lost that it's still a series. Yesterday was a big loss, but at the same time, the Spartanburgers still have a lot of high leverage arms left. They'll have a home crowd behind them tomorrow, and one win, 9 innings of solid baseball, puts you right back in contention for the championship. That's the strange nature of just a 3-game playoff series, right? There's no slow build. There's no one team can't really jump out in front and grab the series by the horns. Then you're down 2-0, 3-0, and it feels like an insurmountable advantage to overcome. It's just one game, and the team has already played 134 of these. So it's a really experienced squad when it comes to flushing it, right? They've been streaky all year. They've lost 8 games in a row. They've won 6 games in a row. So I think I don't have any doubt that the team will show up ready to play tomorrow. I think it'll also help that they get to sleep for a long time in their own beds tonight after some pretty crazy travel over the past couple days. So all in all, I'm confident in the team tomorrow night. You've got Dylan McLean going out. He's very experienced and pitched really well against Bowling Green in this same spot last week. So I'm not getting caught up in Sunday. It was a tough game, but the best thing you can possibly do for anyone who watched or listened or is going to play tomorrow is flush it and show up tomorrow refreshed and ready.
And Ian, I guess that's the beauty of baseball, right? I mean, we see this at all levels. Not it all comes down to pitching, but a lot of it does come down to pitching. And for this team yesterday to have lost 13-1, you look at it and say, oh, bad loss, whatever, blowout, yada, yada, yada. But ultimately, you mentioned it's still a lot of arms left. Is that where you feel like Hub City might have an advantage in this series and this critical game tomorrow night on the mound?
Both these teams are built on pitching and defense. Brooklyn in the regular season had the second best team ERA. Hub City was right behind with the third best. When you look at the starting pitching ERA, Hub City had the second best. Brooklyn had the third best. And defensively, both these teams are extremely solid. The Spartanburgers have had to make some adjustments in the late season as a couple players have gone down with injury, but overall, you look at the team, whether it's behind the plate, whether it's in the infield, and some talent in the outfield too. They can really field the baseball. There aren't many plays where you just look at it and you say, "Oh, that's a bad physical mistake." And mental errors pop up here and there, but that's baseball. But overall, and the guys that you'll be putting on the mound Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm sure Chad Comer and Thomas St. Clair, the pitching coach, have the utmost confidence in the arms that they've saved for these pivotal championship games. And when it comes to McLean tomorrow, I'm sure you guys have probably heard it from Chad here and there. Like what the Spartanburgers and the Rangers really value, they want bulldogs and they want strike throwers. And Dylan McLean isn't necessarily the most fiery of competitors. He is a stoic, calm guy who's he rides the seas evenly, regardless of whether it's turbulent or whether it's smooth. Like he will not show much emotion, but he competes and he fills up the strike zone. And that's what you need to really settle the team down after a loss that for some might be catastrophic, right? You need someone that's going to go in there and set the tone by attacking the zone and making Brooklyn's hitters put the ball in play. And the Cyclones here and there had some infield singles and some balls that got through on turf that might not get through on grass. So here and there's something that really played to Brooklyn's advantage on their home field that might not happen down in Spartanburg. The other thing you have to consider is you're playing in a pitcher's park, right? Fifth Third Park is huge. So that will also come into play and I think be in favor of the pitching and defense for both sides.
Yeah, Ian, last time we had you on, you talked about, the ability in a series like this. It is a short series, and it's also the end of the season, no matter what happens after this series, that you can use up those starting arms a lot more than you normally would in any given game. How do you expect Chad to use the relief arms and closers throughout the remainder of this series?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I've talked to a bunch of Spartanburgers pitchers over the past couple of days who say, you know what? Here in the playoffs, it's all hands on deck. It doesn't matter if you threw one night, you can go again the next night just for an inning. It won't be the College World Series where you see one guy go out there and throw 160 pitches and then pitch the next day. Like the Rangers have much more control on things than a college coach would. And these guys are, they have plans. The season's been much longer, so putting a guy out there for 160 pitches would be ridiculous. That won't happen.
Ian, it's fascinating, man. There has been so much support in this very first season for the Hub City Spartanburgers. And now we all know it's football season, college, pro, high school football going on. But this is historic. This is big for Spartanburg and all those listening in Spartanburg today to this show to be able to have the opportunity to be a part of something special tomorrow night, because everyone wanted to rush out to the ballpark on opening night, but I would argue that tomorrow could be even bigger if the Spartanburgers come out on top. What have you guys seen from an organization in terms of tomorrow's response? Ian, we lose you?
Ian, do we have you?
Hey, fellas, you got me?
Yep,
yeah, we lost you there for a split.
Sorry about that.
You're
okay,
good.
Where'd you lose me?
No, you're good. I asked you the question just in terms of the response that you guys have seen concerning tomorrow night's game and the magnitude of it.
I mean, I think from a player standpoint, everyone kind of understands where we are. There's not much else to be said. The clubhouse after the game Sunday was quiet, right? There was nobody was hanging their head, but it certainly wasn't an upbeat mood at that point. Pretty tough to be upbeat given the result. But I think by the time everyone got back to the hotel, they understood, hey, we're playing again. Season's not over, right? There's still life left in this team. So there's no reason to act like, everything is dead and gone. I think the other thing that really boosted some moods was looking on social media, at least from my perspective. I don't know how much the guys are on social media. I know Chad does not have social media, so he probably didn't see any of this. But for me, looking on social media and seeing that people here in Spartanburg are still supporting the team and trying to uplift this group of guys that's been, through a long journey, a long season, and a lot of travel over these past couple of days was very great to see that the support's still there and that there are a ton of people that want to get out to the ballpark tomorrow and cheer on the team.
Talking to Ian Unsworth, Spartanburgers play-by-play voice. Ian, can you take us into the locker room? Who are the spark guys in this situation? Who do you like to really come alive in these high-pressure situations? And who's kind of that vocal, rah-rah, movie speech, win one for the Gipper guy?
I don't know. I don't think Chad Comer is necessarily a big rah-rah person. He's straight to the point. He's no nonsense, but he's steady, right? That's what you need from a manager. For the most part, John Taylor has been someone that, even though he hasn't been here from start to finish, he's been a real positive presence in the clubhouse. He's very well-traveled from a baseball perspective. He played at a couple different junior colleges, played D1 at Louisiana Lafayette. And then, he practiced his trade in independent baseball for a year and a half before getting a minor league affiliated opportunity. And I think, he's gained a lot of wisdom in that time. He's given guys swing tips. He has, he's helped out defensively, playing a bunch of different positions. And I think more than anything, his appreciation for where he is has helped other guys who are high profile or might feel the pressure of having to perform after their draft slot or this and that. He's helped guys really stay loose and enjoy the moment, because he's someone that every day is extremely grateful for where he is. And I think that kind of at this point in the season is what you need. You don't necessarily need to be rah-rah, but you need to enjoy the moments and make sure that nothing passes you by.
Ian, for any of our audience, any of our Tolos that may be making the trip tomorrow, coming out to Fifth Third Park and maybe haven't caught a game, maybe it's their first one of the season, who are a couple of players that you feel like could have a breakout game tomorrow? For somebody new that doesn't know this roster, who should they keep an eye on tomorrow night?
Well, I haven't seen the lineup yet, so that's a bit of a question yet to be answered.
Gotcha.
But I can guarantee you that Malcolm Moore, Dylan Dreiling, and Casey Cook will be in it. Rangers' first 3 picks from last year. And when those guys are going well, usually they're in the top 5-6 hitters in the order, that offense will produce. JT, John Taylor, will probably be in the lineup, and he's hit all over the place, but he is someone that puts together the best at-bats on the team. His 2-strike approach is great, and he makes pitchers work. And a bright spot, especially in that last home series against Rome in the regular season, was Antonis Macias, someone who was a late call-up, can play first base, he can play the corner outfield, even some center if need be, but he also puts together great at-bats and was an on-base machine in low A, and we've seen flashes of that here in high A. And in the playoffs, all you need is one walk, one hit batter, and the tenor of the game completely changes, especially with a rowdy home crowd like we'll have at Fifth Third Park. If you get one guy on base, pitcher feels the pressure, defense feels the pressure, manager might get that bullpen hot a little quicker because all the focus becomes on a pitcher's ability to throw strikes. In the playoffs, things get so intense so quickly.
Ian, maybe this is more of a Tyson Jeffers type of question, but can you tell us, do you know how well tickets are selling for tomorrow night's game? How many are left available? And if you have any tips for our listeners who are going to be making their way into the park tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an exact attendance number for you yet, but I can tell you we do still have tickets available. You can get them a multitude of different ways. If you're a last-minute person and you might just want to show up tomorrow based on your schedule, we always have walk-up tickets available at the box office right outside the left field gate next to the team store. If you're someone that wants to talk over the phone, box office probably just closing up, but you can give them a call tomorrow morning. The number is 864-594-0701. And honestly, the easiest way to do it, just go online, hubcityspartanburgers.com/tickets. We'll take you right there. And here's the big part of this that I think some people might have missed. If you buy a ticket for game 2, your ticket for game 3 is complimentary, right? It is a ticket for game 2, pending a Spartanburgers win, will get you in the door for game 3. No extra charge.
That's incredible.
You can double down right there, right? We want everyone to have that experience of playoff baseball in Spartanburg. It's been over 30 years, right? People here deserve it. So if you get that game 2 ticket, you can get in for game 3, and hopefully, right, Spartanburgers need to win both, so you might as well come to both. And hopefully that means the Burgers are hoisting a championship at the end of the day.
And there's a special giveaway that's just been doubled with the number of giveaways that you have. Isn't that right?
I've been on a plane for the majority of the day, or I've been on a bus. So if you know, let the people know.
Yeah, I'm letting them know right now, and you're going to see this out your window. This was originally tweeted about an hour ago, and there's been an update on it. They were originally set to give away 1,000 Spartanburgers green rally towels, and now
let's go.
Now they've bumped it.
See this.
Here's what's great: they've bumped it to 2,000. So it's gonna be buzzing inside Fifth Third Park.
That's okay. So I didn't know we had a lot of conversations around the front office about rally towels, making it happen. Bowling Green did theirs when we were on the road, and that was cool. But we weren't sure if we could get them in time. It was up in the air whether we were getting them or not. So that is awesome. I guess I have to check my social media more. I'm a young person in the world who's not on social media all the time. Sometimes it's a good thing, but I guess you guys caught me unprepared.
No, you're good, man. Ian, you're awesome as well. We appreciate you, and best of luck tomorrow night. Let's go get it done.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you having me on. Go
Thanks,
Burgers.
Ian. Absolutely. Ian Unsworth. How about that important information there at the end? If you buy a ticket tomorrow, Tolo's out there, you will get a ticket to game 3, if there is a game 3, for free. Complimentary is the way I like to call it. I love that. That is incredible, man. I mean,
who's doing that?
For
playoff baseball.
That is awesome.
And the first 2,000 fans going to get a rowley towel.
Yeah, I'm going to try to be there. I'm going to try to be there tomorrow night. That's going to be a lot of fun. Tolos, if you're heading out to Fifth Third Park tomorrow night, let us know on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. Should be a lot of fun. Playoff baseball is a lot of fun, man. And for that to be in Spartanburg in his first year, that's pretty freaking sweet. So appreciate Ian in his time today, Diesel. We haven't had a chance to get into it yet, but the new top 25 in the AP poll is out. We'll discuss it, our thoughts, your thoughts as well next. Long for the AP College Football Week 3 Top 25 to be released.
Especially when they don't do their homework. They just put together a random list.
You mean you're talking about Mrs. Haley? Was it
Haley Sawyer?
Sawyer? Is
Haley
that right?
Sawyer, yeah.
Haley? Paging Haley. Can somebody call Haley and get her on line 3, please?
Did she move Florida up again this week after losing?
Florida is now number 1.
How about that?
Kidding, Tolos. But your reaction to the top 25 AP poll, Ohio State is the number 1 team in all of the land. I'm sure our Ohio State Tolos love to see it. Penn State at number 2, no movement there. LSU, number 3, no movement there, Diesel. Miami, number 4. Georgia, 5. Oregon, 6. Florida State coming in at number 7. Texas at number 8. They fell from 7 to 8. Illinois at 9. A&M at 10. Oklahoma at 11. Iowa State, 12. Ole Miss, 13. Alabama moves from 19 to 14. Tennessee, 15, no movement. Utah, 16. 17, Texas Tech. 18, the Ramblin' Wreck of Georgia Tech. 19, Indiana. Vandy, 20. Michigan, 21. Auburn, 22. Mizzou, 23. Notre Dame, 24. And the USC Trojans making their way into the top 25. Diesel, what did they get right and what did they get wrong in your mind?
Terribly wrong, and this is egregious, Cole.
Okay.
The fact that Vanderbilt just enters the top 25 at number 20. That's a travesty. They should be higher.
Okay.
Because Vanderbilt beat Charleston Southern 45-3. They did exactly what they were supposed to do against an FCS team. Then they blew out a Virginia Tech team on the road, true road game at their place, 44-20. And then they blew out a top 11 team in South Carolina on the road at their place, 31-7. I mean, dismantled South Carolina. So to have Vanderbilt only at 20, at 3-0, currently sitting behind 1, 2, 3 different one-loss teams, I think is egregious. I think it's egregious. They're sitting behind Tennessee, behind Alabama, and behind Texas.
You know, I don't think I disagree with you there. Look, I watched the game as most listeners did. The reality is, did South Carolina suck on Saturday? They sure did. Is Vanderbilt a really good football team? I think they are. I'm not saying they're a top 10 football team. I don't know, but Diesel, I will tell you this. I've watched other teams in the AP top 25 this year. And some around that 12 to 15 spot that doesn't look as good as Vandy. Right now, today, if Illinois played Vandy, I'd take Vandy.
Yeah.
Illinois is 9 in the country. I'd like to see what Vandy did against Texas today. Am I saying they'd win? No. Am I saying they'd lose? I don't know.
I think that Vandy team would put up 24 points against Texas, and prove me wrong. Tell me that Arch Manning is putting up 25.
I think it's worth, it'd be fun. It'd be a fun game right now, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Vandy, Florida State. You don't think Vandy could compete with Florida State? I do. I think they could compete with Miami, who's the 4th best team. So I'm with you there. They're currently ranked a little too low for my liking. Number 20. Again, they were not ranked. They defeated South Carolina 31-7. This is Vanderbilt's first 3-0 start to the season since 2017. They played Georgia State on Saturday. Another win.
It'll be 4-0.
Right. Now, do want to note this, Diesel. South Carolina and Clemson, did you hear me read off their names when I read the top 25?
Nope.
That's because they're not in the top 25. Did you think that on the 15th day of September, the 15th, not October, not November, September, we'd be sitting here having the conversation that neither team in our state's ranked?
I would have told you before the season started that on this date, Clemson is probably sitting no worse than 4.
Top 5.
Yeah.
Top 5.
They started preseason top 5. I would have told you, obviously they would be ranked higher than LSU, who's currently sitting at 3.
Yeah.
And that maybe, depending on how they looked, they'd be number 2 in the country. I would have told you that 99 out of 100 times you asked me that question.
I'm with you. Also, how about this? I want to say thanks to Zach Walford, who tagged me in this tweet on Twitter, on X. Diesel, FCS Nation, top 25 week 3. The Furman Paladins at number 25, cracking the top 25.
How about it?
24, Presbyterian College.
Ooh.
Just right up the road, not far at all from here, by the way, in Clinton. ETSU at 23. Another notable, Gardner-Webb, not far from here at 19.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, anybody else close to us? No, that's pretty much it.
What I like about the FCS top 10, I love that Idaho, that struggled to pull 1,000 fans when they were an FBS program, when they were playing in the Sun Belt of all places, because they needed a place to give them a conference schedule for a couple of years. Idaho is now sitting inside the top 10. And I'd be willing to bet that the Kibbe Dome, which is on my bucket list for the sheer sake of I want to go to all the domed stadiums, I'll bet you the Kibbe Dome is rocking this year. I mean, it's unique. It's an interesting, fun place. I want to go to the Fargo Dome more than I want to go to the Kibbe Dome, but I want to go to both. Like, you got to give a round of applause to Idaho.
Scotty from BMW says, what a great weekend of football. Tiger fans and USC fans. How's that butt feeling today? That's pretty funny there,
We
Scotty.
did have a texter earlier and say, as a South Carolina fan, it's so much more tolerable to talk to Clemson fans when we're both in the same crappy mood.
That's true. Zach says, after beating Mercer and Furman both on the road and beating Erskine on Saturday for the first time in school history since going D1, the PC Blue Hose are in the top 25. How about
Love
that?
it. Love it, Cole. When we come back, let's hear, not from us, let's hear from the sources directly, from guys like Jameis Winston, from Dabo Sweeney, from Theo Vaughn, from Clark Lee, Brent Key, Brian Kelly, and so many more. A good old-fashioned audio blitz coming your way next on the Fan Upstate. Cole, I already felt bad about myself as a sports fan. I like myself pretty well as it comes to being a human being. But as a sports fan, my team got smoked, and now Dan B has to pour gasoline on the fire by sending me the newest Upset Picks Challenge standings.
Ooh, not happy?
They are out, and neither you nor I are on the list. We don't have any points. We are terrible at this.
Yeah, we are.
But congratulations to April Mosley, who has 42.5 points. Took the lead.
No, she did not. No, she
the lead
did freaking not.
With 42.5. Excuse me, Dave. Not April, Dave. Sorry, there was a little
Dave Mosley.
There was a little icon in the upper left-hand corner that was blocking the first name. And
April's
I just saw
husband,
Mosley.
right?
I think so, yeah.
So, crazy story. Friday, you were here. I was at Greer for the Greer-Burns game.
Yep.
Guess who sat right underneath the press box where I was?
Dave Mosley.
And his son.
Oh, my God.
So shout out to That's why he hit in the Upset Picks Challenge, is because I was so close to him on Friday night. It just rubbed off, and it rubbed completely off of me onto him, I guess.
We have now 2, 4, 6 Tolos who have hit 4 weeks in a row.
Wow.
Gamecock
and Tom's one of them.
Kane's Transplant, Who's Your Daddy, Bo from Greer, Nashty, and
man.
Tom in Somerville. Now, Tom somehow keeps finding a way to hit, but not make any progress because Tom has 12.5 points.
So he's choosing the wrong games.
He's choosing the wrong games. He's getting them right, but he's not choosing games that will earn him points. And he keeps falling farther and farther back. So he is now 30 points behind this Dave Mosley, even after hitting 4 in a row.
Diesel, does Tom understand the point of the Upset Picks Challenge?
I don't know.
Do you know?
I don't know.
I mean, do we need to explain it to him?
Tom knows his way to the local watering hole. I know that.
You think so?
So if you want to go find them, they are on Twitter
name?
at the Fan Upstate, and momentarily they're going to be up at the Fan Upstate on Facebook as well. I don't want to talk about, but I will, the fact that my wife, who is on the board as FU Ashley, is killing me.
And me.
Is killing me.
Oh, boy. That's great.
You know, she used Chat GPT to give her a pick last week. I sent her the games that I considered, and Vandy, South Carolina was on the list of games that I considered.
Oh,
I ultimately didn't choose it, and my pick did not go well either.
So
I
there
picked
you
North
go.
Texas to lose to Oregon State, and North Texas smoked them, like barbecued them in Denton.
So what you're saying is you've just given all the Tolos out there the recipe to hitting in the Upset Picks Challenge.
Take the ones that I consider,
and put
because
them
we
in
do
Chat
early
GPT.
leans. Yeah.
That
and
is
then pick one of those.
hilarious. Let's go to the phone lines before we begin the audio blitz. Rick and Greer. Rick, do you use Chat GPT?
I've never heard of it.
Oh my gosh.
You have heard of Chat GPT, Rick. Can we not do this?
Never heard of it.
Are you I mean, what do you
It's a competitor in the ice cream shop with a male strip club training school.
What?
In the back.
What did he just say?
So you better watch out for Chat GPT. It's coming for you, Rick.
I hear you. Let me brag a little bit.
All right.
I've never played your challenge. I hit the first week.
Who did you pick? Do you remember who you picked?
I picked Georgia Tech over Clemson.
Wow, there you go. How about
All right, good pick.
Congratulations, Rick.
Can I pick Clemson the rest of the way? I mean, pick against Clemson the rest of the way.
Unfortunately,
you can if they're a dog.
They're a
I
dog.
mean, if they're favored.
So
if they're favored, you can pick against them.
You can't pick yet, but just so you know, the last time I looked, Diesel, have you seen the spread for Syracuse Clemson?
I have not.
Guess. Don't look. Guess.
I'm going to guess Clemson favored by 1.5.
Rick, what do you think it is?
7.5. By Clemson by 7.5.
That's what your guess is. Have you looked, Rick?
No, I have not.
All right.
Oh my.
Diesel?
Now I look.
It is 17.5 points in favor of Clemson.
I'm taking Syracuse.
Here's the thing, Tom. Here's the thing, Rick. They've scored 26 against Tennessee in a loss, 27 against UConn, and 66 against Colgate. They can
I'm
clearly
telling you,
score.
They're going to beat Clemson. Clemson couldn't beat Sugar Kit or they couldn't beat Burns High School. Okay?
Oh my!
Thanks, Rick.
So,
boy.
There you
stuff.
go, Tolos. Facebook and Twitter at The Fan Upstate is where you can go find the newest upset picks standings.
That's incredible.
Let's
man.
get to some audio from around the sports world. Cole, let's hear first from Jameis Winston.
So I'm going to throw a curveball. I don't have these in order.
Okay.
So the first thing we're going to get is an inside look at Josh Sapp's overturned touchdown.
Okay.
You brought that up earlier in the
Yes.
show. If you did not watch the game, this is awesome. This is awesome. A new feature that if you're watching at home, this is what you hear. Here's what it sounded like.
Hey Todd.
Yes, hey Adam.
This is Adam. The ruling on the field is a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you two shots. I'm gonna show you the handheld. This is the handheld right here, and you can see that he's got a body part down, but his ball is pinned against his lower leg right there with the tops of his hands.
Keep going.
And then he's out there, right? And then he's still fuddling with that ball.
Okay, on that shot right there.
And then he gets control, but he's clearly out.
Do you see a loss of control with a foot in the white?
I don't think he has control there.
I agree with you.
You can see this that we don't believe he has control at all. By the time he has control, he's out of bounds.
Yeah, he's way out.
Hey, take a look at high end zone real quick.
High end zone, all right.
Not C. Go to multi. Go to A.
High end zone. Never lose the ball. Lose the ball there.
Guys, I've got enough on that sideline shot to show no control, incomplete pass.
I would agree.
Okay, so after further review, the pass was incomplete. It's going to be second down at the 2-yard line of the left half.
Yes,
Clock is good.
Second and goal at the 2. Yeah.
So
This is
that not
fantastic.
incredible right there, man?
Now, I mean, like, how many times a week do we get people upset because they don't understand how the referees made the decision that they made? Now you can listen to this with ACC broadcasts.
Yeah.
And you can understand their reasoning as to why. You may still disagree with the call, but now you can hear them say, at this point, I don't see control. He's fuddling with the ball. Again, an industry term. But you can get in real time their discussion and why they're deciding what they're deciding. And that's amazing.
And I think for fan experience, everybody wants to complain, to your point, right, about why they don't think it's right. It doesn't get any clearer than that. Like, I watched that on Saturday, and I had forgotten that was going to take place. I was mesmerized. I was blown away. I love this
I caught
new
a piece
feature.
of that in the NC State Wake Forest game.
Yeah.
And I heard it. I was like, wait a minute. Are they supposed to be putting this on the air?
Yeah.
Is this real?
Yeah.
And then I heard it again in the class. I was like, this is great.
Isn't it?
Every conference needs to have this.
I don't want just conference. I want NFL. I want high school.
Major League Baseball.
Everything.
We need to know why they're making the decisions. That's accountability right there. They don't have to do a press conference after the fact and explain it to fans or anything. But understanding the decision-making process is great.
And the way my mind is wired, I love knowing why. I love knowing the why as to why it happened, how things work. And I was just sitting there like, like I said, I was shocked. I loved it.
You also get that they are using the slow motion camera shots to decide what happens. Like in real time, it was called a touchdown. And in game speed, you hear that all the time. Game speed versus slow motion looks like two completely different plays. Well, you can clearly see that they're using the slow motion as the deciding factor. And I don't know how this can be used. I haven't seen it used in targeting penalty calls. I would love to see that as well. Have them
especially on that
explaining
Lenore's
to
one.
us. Yeah, I mean, there was a targeting play against Robbie Ashford in the Wake Forest
Thursday?
NC State game Thursday night.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have heard that as well.
So
that may be the one I'm thinking of then.
If you would have loved to have heard that, I would also imagine that you would love to hear during the South Carolina Vandy game, because it wasn't really competitive. You would love to hear what Cole Kublik of SEC Network was saying to Theo Vaughn, comedian. Well, here's exactly what he was saying, and this is why Diego Pavia's mom was on TV.
Diego Pavia wins this game. He promised you he would set you up with a date with his mom.
Yes.
There we go.
It's a nurse, and I've always wanted to. My goal is I would like to marry a nurse one day. So that's why. That's smart. He was.
Wow.
That is.
I don't even know if I would do it. I don't know.
That's
so, I like being his friend. I don't want to end up being like his stepdad or something.
Yeah, that would be weird. I got it.
He said he's his friend. He doesn't want to end up being a stepdad.
Here's the thing. Diego Pavia looks older than Theo Vaughn.
He does
But
look old,
Diego
yeah.
Pavia's mom is a smoke show.
And I would imagine that Diego
Smoke
Pavia is
show.
probably, what? Okay, he's
24?
24-ish. So
Yeah.
his mom's probably in her mid to late 40s,
Maybe.
maybe something like that. That is so funny. That's good stuff.
How old is Theo Vaughn?
I would say Dio's in his late 30s. If I had to
Theo
guess.
is
Let me guess 36.
Theo's 45.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. Theo Vaughn is 45. So he is old enough to be Diego Pavia's dad.
I did not know Theo Vaughn was that old.
I wouldn't have called it. I wouldn't
guess
have called that at all.
36. Goodness
late
gracious.
30s. He's got that late 30s look.
Wow.
And maybe it's the mullet. Keeps you young.
Maybe it is.
Maybe you
it
should
is.
go back to the mullet.
No, I'm good. Here's Brent Key getting emotional after the win.
You know, early night drive, I think after the first play, came over the sideline. Haynes said, "Put the ball in my hand. We're going to win this thing." And we did. Our kids believe. I believe in them. They believe in each other. You know, 3 years of work to get to a very I'm so happy right now. The beauty of this game is that means next week's even bigger.
How awesome is that, man?
Love it.
I mean, I love seeing the raw emotion. I really do. Big win over Clemson.
Yeah.
Is Clemson what we thought they would be? No, but still, man.
I mean,
you're Brent Key at Georgia Tech. That's huge.
And also, Cole, I mean, that was a heck of a sequence right there with a tie ball game, long field goal to rush that unit out onto the field. They had no timeouts. They couldn't call timeout.
Fire drill, man.
Dabo could have, and he did mention it in his post-game press conference. Like, maybe I thought about doing it to ice him. They couldn't have. Could you have called back-to-back timeouts in that situation? You can't call back-to-back to ice twice anymore, but can you call timeout once to get your field goal blocking unit on the field and then once again to ice the kicker?
I think it depends on when he takes the first one. I will say this. I agree with Dabo on not calling the timeout there.
Yeah, it's the right call.
You're letting chaos happen. Unfortunately, that chaos turned into a game-winning field goal, which was nuts. It really was nuts. But it was – I know as much as it pained Clemson fans to see that was wild, seeing how they just ran out there as quick as they did. Here's Dan Lanning. This was not about football. This was about life. And, he emphasized that after what happened last week, life matters. Here's what Dan Lanning had to say post-game.
Talk about, I think the U.S. could learn a lot from our locker room. I think the people in this world can learn a lot from our locker room. You walk in that locker room, you got guys of different races, guys of different backgrounds, different religions, and you got a team that loves each other. Like tons of differences, where they come from, what they deal with, and ultimately you got a team that loves each other. And I think we're missing some of that in our country. You talk about, you recently found out like Charlie Kirk was a Oregon fan, right? I didn't know that. I hurt for his wife, Erica, and their kids. Like that sort of evil should never exist in our country. And that's what it is. It's evil. But I remember having to explain that to my family, right? I remember sitting down with my kids and explaining what happened. And they're talking about people talking about it at school. And it's just sad, right? But it's just as sad, every day it seems like we deal with some sort of violence that's going on in our country, whether it's, school kids in Colorado or kids in Minnesota at churches. I mean, life matters. And I think we've lost sight of that. But I wish the world could learn a little bit of something from our locker room, because we got a bunch of people with differences, And what you got in there is a bunch of people who love there. And there's some people that'll be disappointed about how much I said about this, right? And there'll be some people that are disappointed that I didn't say enough, right? And I really don't care, right? What I do care about is if you disagree with me, if you hate me, if you don't like me, just know this, I love you.
I mean, I'll tell you what, man, it doesn't get stronger than that right there from Dan Lanning.
Yeah.
Diesel, the world learning a lot from a football locker room. I think that was perfectly well said.
And to his point, I think there's a lot of people who have worked really hard over the last 4 or 5 days to try to put forth a lot of positivity out into the world and try to tell people that even though, hey, you and I may differ on things, I care about you. Even though the media would like to portray that there is some massive divide and that people are angry at each other, there's a lot more people who are coming together than are splitting apart, and that's worth focusing on.
That's the
right
way
now.
It should be. That's the way it should be. And I love what he said, man. When something bad happens in any walk of life, that's what we should do is come together, not the opposite. And sadly, we see that far too often. Here's what it sounded like, Diesel. This was maybe the best game of the weekend. Texas A&M on 4th and goal with 19 seconds on the clock.
Oh. Reed, rush comes. Reed pumps, fires. It is caught. Nate Borkicher brings it in and ties the game.
Just shock.
The leprechaun of Lyman called from the emergency room. You're going to put him in traction.
He did. The fans, man, the best parts of these broadcasts is after a big play, the great work by the cameramen who get those shots of the fans on the opposite side.
Yeah.
That are,
yeah. What do they call this? They call this the Cobra pose. Yeah. When you put your hands on top of your head and you're like,
great, man. It's so good. It's so good. So that was A&M. That was big time. Big time. Also big time, Diesel. Yesterday, with 5 seconds to go in the Giants-Cowboys game, we were down 3 points. I was sitting on the couch thinking, yeah, this is it. We've lost to the New York Giants. We are 0-2 on the season. There's no way that our kicker, Brandon Aubrey, I don't even know what's his name, Brandon Aubrey, is going to make a 64-yard field goal. Here's what it sounded like.
Aubrey, does he have enough? On the way, it is good! That's why they trusted him. Never a doubt.
What a great play-by-play call, by the way, too.
Yeah.
You know,
and they talked about him being the most accurate long field goal kicker in the NFL. And it's crazy.
Have you heard the story?
No.
He was not a football player. He played soccer.
Oh, I did remember them saying that during the broadcast.
And then went and tried out for USS, some kind of one of those football leagues, right?
Yeah.
And you know what's wild? I think my biggest takeaway is think about how far we've come as a sport, that we're just confidently trotting field goal kickers out there for 64-yard field goals.
It's absurd, right?
That is crazy.
And now, granted, that was inside Jerry World.
Yeah.
So you don't have the wind, and obviously you probably wouldn't attempt that kick unless you had no other choice in an outdoor venue, especially if there's any wind, because that would make it a really tough
And
kick.
you know the crazy part about that kick is it was good from 70. Yeah. I mean, it was just booted. So I'm glad that God created Brandon Aubrey. That's my takeaway on this Monday. How about Clark Lee? The story just being written, Diesel, about Vandy.
You know, I'm learning because I'm still new at this, but tonight's about our team. It's about our players, our coaching staff that prepared them the right way. It's a good South Carolina team. This is an excellent environment, and I'm just really proud of them, and I want the story to be about them.
That's pretty cool, man. Clark Lee, it's hard not to like the guy. He's a really good coach, and he says, look, I'm still learning.
Where's he going to be next year?
Good question.
I mean,
good question.
Like we said with Shane Beamer's name being thrown around for the opening at Virginia Tech, it would be ludicrous to say Shane Beamer would take that job with that program being as down bad as it is in a poverty conference at a school that's not going to get an equal revenue share and get bumped down the list compared to Clemson and Florida State. Shane Beamer would be an idiot to take that job, leave South Carolina, take a Virginia Tech. But Clark Lee, I mean, he could go somewhere that might give him some more resources, and he's a big-time coach.
Big time.
And how many Vanderbilt coaches have we seen go on to do bigger and bigger things after leaving Vandy?
For sure.
Wild stuff.
In case you missed it, we had a fantastic conversation earlier in the show with Grayson Mann of TigerNet.com. We'll have it for you in case you missed it next.